Всім доброго ранку.
Good morning, everyone. I understand that everyone is here and we can start. We're happy to welcome you at the workshop devoted to drawing the conclusions and plans for the air catalog of the Prozorro Market as a quick and convenient procurement tool. First of all, I would like to thank you sincerely for being here with us. And here we have about 100 representatives from hospitals from Kyiv and the region who are broadly using the Prozorro Market as their procurement tool. It's very important for us to share our plans and also to hear your honest feedback about using this tool. And this is why we have gathered here today. My name is Alexandra, and I will be moderating a number of sections of our today's event. So a few ground rules before I start, and also I would like to present you the agenda. So first of all, safety first, both for the colleagues and for you here in the audience. So if we have an air raid alert because of the ballistic missile threat, we will have to stop our event and move down to the common shelter. And after the siren is recalled, we'll continue our event. Also, our event is being recorded, and after we hold it, everyone who's recorded here will receive the links to all the presentation materials and also the link to the event itself. And now a few words about the agenda. So first, my colleagues will tell you about the conclusions and the key indicators of the e-catalog of the Prozorro Market, and then SMT agency will present the analysis results of the impact of the mandatory introduction of the air catalog for the regional procurement. After that, we'll have very interesting and a rich discussion about the challenges and opportunities of the e-catalog, and we'll have the central procurement organizations, the marketplaces, and also the representatives from the Central Cancer Institute and the European Municipal Hospital. After that, we have a Q&A session, and you'll be able to ask all the questions that concern you. And there will be a short break. After the break, we'll have another block devoted to regulating the relations between the customers and the suppliers. And after that, you will be able to ask all your questions. So before starting, I would like to give the floor to the welcoming address to Petro Yemes, Deputy Minister of Healthcare of Ukraine. Mr. Petro, the floor is yours. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank everyone for this attendance, for those who wanted to hear how we are planning to introduce the reform in the procurement in the medical sphere. And I'd like to say that the most important thing in the healthcare system is preserving the life and health of every patient. And this is impossible without building the quality system of the medical provisions for the hospitals. And this is why the ministry introduces legislative changes thanks to which the public procurement becomes transparent, reliable, and quick. The key role in this process is played by the e-catalog of the Prozorro Market, whose medical part is administered by the Medical Procurement of Ukraine team. And together we can reach considerable progress in improving the healthcare and quality to the high quality access to the medicines, and the participation is free in the catalog, and the hospitals can quickly use this tool to procure. And the savings have been achieved. For example, in 2023, the procurement in the e-catalog amounted to over 2.5 billion hryvnia of medicines and medical devices, which is 9 times more than in 2022. Also, we realize that there are some drawbacks and things to improve that I would like to ask you to ensure fruitful cooperation to make sure you help us find these drawbacks and disadvantages, and I guarantee that we'll take every possible effort to make sure that we improve these drawbacks and to address these problems. So once again, I appeal to our fruitful and productive work. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now I'd like to give the floor to Nadia Bihun, Deputy Minister of Economy of Ukraine. Thank you, Nadia. The floor is yours. Dear colleagues, I'm very happy to welcome all of you here. And indeed, I remember a year ago, we had a meeting and I was saying back then that Prozorro is an ecosystem, right? And Prozorro is like the biggest advantage of our ecosystem is that we actively involve a large number of participants into this ecosystem. And I believe that over this year, almost 2 years now, we focused a lot on developing the procurement system, focusing really on the customers, because my team and the department in the regulation of public procurement team, so we identified that our target clients for whom we're developing the system and for whom we're improving the regulation is a professional procurement officer, the professionals in procurement, to make sure that they can do their work better. And I won't stay here for the discussion, but I believe we can have a lot of heated discussions here because I know that since the start of the full-scale invasion, you had a lot of challenges to face and 1178, the changes to the 1178 decree, numerous changes introducing new, quite brave approaches. And any changes, well, let's be honest, any changes are uncomfortable. Any change requires, like those who are involved, to start changing their behavior, right? So we are used to something, we're used to doing things in some way, and then we have to do it differently. And then the majority of the changes, they initially create discomfort, but rebuilding and creating certain new conditions, if everything is done correctly and thought through, then it brings the improvement. So I understand you very well. It's hard for you because there are a lot of changes because we live in a lot of under a lot of pressure and we have our international partners. And I know for the international partners, when I say, well, colleagues, look, the war, even like the prefrontal areas, they continue to purchase through the e procedures. Yes, they're simplified, but they are following the procedures. And for these colleagues, this is shocking. The colleagues say, well, Ukraine is surprising us, not only, with the voice and are fighting on the front lines and not only with the businesses that continue to work under blackouts, but also with the customers and procurers, because they show that they are able to work efficiently and to follow the rules and ensure the efficiency of the procurement, because, you know, other people would just collapse. Because understanding our super strength, that we are flexible and we are adapting, so we're trying to use this strength. And the changes you saw over the past 2 years, they are focused first and foremost to improve the efficiency of the procurement system. The procurement have to face the challenges of the current times and do everything possible and to ensure cost effectiveness. And we are looking not only at the savings, we're looking at all the procurement process, and we start estimating how much it's cost to organize the procurement. So we've got about 18,000 procurers, and we had almost 27,000 before the war. So 27,000 basically organizations uh, where one or two people are dealing with procurement. So how much time and effort and resources we're using in order to build a procurement process? But what can we do to make sure that this time and resources are spent more efficiently, to make sure that it doesn't cost us some huge amount of resource, plus attracting some lawyers or some other departments within the organization that instead of doing basically or performing their primary function, they are included into the procurement process and they're investing their time and energy for that. That's why Prozorro Market, first and foremost, for uh, the future, this is the tool that would simplify our life for the simple procurement where we have some standard items And, after the war, everything has to be done through the Prozorro Market. And I'm very grateful to the MPU for this place for discussion, venue for discussion, and I really hope that there will be a lot of feedback here. And as Petro is saying, we understand that this is not an ideal system, but it doesn't mean that we just have to let go and say, okay, the system is not ideal, we're not doing anything. On the contrary, it means that we have to improve. We have to take the feedback from you. We have to look where we can, improve now, where we can improve in the future, and to make Prozorro Market a tool that will be covering the simple procurement issue, not only during the war, but after the war, that becomes a sustainable tool after the martial law is revoked. So basically, it's going to ensure that this simple procurement is done through Prozorro. So I would be very thankful for the feedback and involvement. We know that there are a lot of questions. We sometimes get these questions, and we have quite tough discussions about this with colleagues. But I believe that dialogue is always better. A constructive dialogue, of course, is better than no such dialogue. So I believe that you will hear about other upcoming steps, because certain decisions about the medicines where we saw some misuse, where the business was saying that in the same basket we have the items that were limiting the competition. So we developed a decision which is being implemented right now, and the colleagues will share this, I believe, about the medical devices. Yeah, and we understand, we see the situation that sometimes so the market covers the most needed goods, but sometimes there are some specific needs which is quite unique, and that we can't cover this on the market quickly. And then again, during the coffee break, we just had a talk, and we're looking for the decision. We'll be developing it, and I hope that in the near future we'll be able uh, to see what's happening. So if there's something, if you're not happy with something, if you see some area for improvement, please be active. Please offer something, and this like ideal, because you because this procurement system is a common system, joint system. This is a common task to make sure that the procurement is not only something that surprises our partners, but makes our society happy and is basic and is the basis for economic development. So thank you, and I wish you a productive day. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to give the floor the Acting Deputy Director of the SAD mission, and I would like to thank you for the ongoing support of the medical procurement in Ukraine, implementing a lot of goals aimed at building the system of healthcare, and also for supporting the organization of this event. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Dobro ranko. Good morning, everybody. It really is a pleasure to be here today. I'm going to apologize that I'll speak in English because my Ukrainian is horrible.
Я вважаю для себе великим задоволенням бути сьогодні разом з вами на цьому заході, і хотів би перепросити за те, що говоритиму з вами англійською мовою. Українська у мене дуже така ще, як то кажуть, ржава.
USAID has partnered with Ukraine for many years on its journey to build a more transparent, client-centered, and resilient health system. And USAID is proud to be a long-standing partner with the government of Ukraine in its commitment to improving access to safe, effective, and affordable medicines for all Ukrainian citizens. This has never been truer than now, as Russia's brutal and unjustified invasion of Ukraine continues and the country's health needs grow.
No problem. USAID довгий час, майже весь час стоїть поряд з Україною у її прагненнях побудувати більш прозору, клієнтоцентричну чи людиноцентричну систему медичного обслуговування і закупівель. Особливо це питання набуває ваги зараз, в той час, коли Росія розвитала свою брутальну агресивну війну проти України.
Thank you. This is why it's very important that we're here today. eCatalog started as a small pilot project back in 2019 with the support from USAID SafeMed. Back then, we could have only imagined how it would have grown into this popular, effective tool that we see today, used daily by Ukrainian institutions across the country to transparently and cost-effectively procure medicines and equipment that are much needed.
Те, що розпочиналося як доволі скромний пілотний експеримент 2019 року за допомогою USAID, тепер виросло в захопливу систему, яка щодня допомагає всім причетним здійснювати закупівлі у прозорий і ефективний з погляду економіки спосіб.
I won't go through the long list of accomplishments as my previous speakers have covered some of them, and I know it'll be discussed in more detail today.
Я не повторюватиму всього того, про що докладно говорила попередня доповідачка чи попередні доповідачі. Я знаю, що сьогодні ви ще будете про це говорити під час своїх дискусій.
But I do want to talk about a few items and highlight a few things about what we feel at USAID are truly extraordinary achievements that exemplify why we are all here today for this discussion and to learn more about what we can do by using this tool.
Але я все ж таки зупинюся на тому, що ми з USAID вважаємо справді надзвичайними досягненнями і чому цей інструмент заслуговує на всіляку довіру і увагу.
First is the sales through eCatalog. Sales in eCatalog in 2024 have already reached 5.3 billion hryvnia, more than double the 2.5 billion hryvnia in sales through the catalog in the entire of 2023.
В 2023 році обсяг продажів через електронний каталог виріс до 5,3 мільярда гривень, тобто майже вдвічі проти 2,5 мільярдів за попередній період.
This impressive growth in sales is a testament to how eCatalog is not just providing real, tangible benefits for healthcare institutions, but it is also simplifying procurement processes, shortening delivery lead timelines, and increasing the predictability of when medicines and equipment will be available.
Це не лише свідчить на ефективність самої цієї платформи, але й вказує на те, що вона дозволяє скоротити час постачання замовлених товарів чи предметів і набагато підвищує прогнозованість того, коли вони будуть доставлені і отримані.
eCatalog also creates transparent competition and equal opportunity for all market participants.
Ну і крім того, електронний каталог створює надзвичайну прозорість і рівні можливості для конкуренції на цьому ринкові.
This competitive advantage enables hospitals to achieve savings of over 20% on anticipated expenses.
І це конкурентне середовище дозволяє лікарням, шпиталям інколи заощаджувати аж 20% тих витрат, які у них в бюджеті записані.
And these incredible savings are very important because it frees up valuable resources for redirection to other healthcare priorities, which is very important, but especially important and critical during a time of war.
Звісно, ці заощадження дозволяють потім спрямувати кошти на інші не менш важливі напрями в сфері охорони громадського здоров'я, але ще більш важливим вони є в скрутні часи, які настали в зв'язку з війною.
At USAID, we applaud the core values of transparency, anti-corruption, and access to safe and effective medicines, which underpin the design and implementation of the e-catalog.
Ну і звісно, ми в USAID вітаємо ті принципи, які лягли в основу створення цього електронного каталогу, а саме принципи підвищеної прозорості, ефективної боротьби з корупційними проявами і забезпечення, чи точніше постачання безпечних і надійних медичних препаратів у сфері охорони здоров'я.
And we congratulate the government of Ukraine, the Ministry of Health, and the Medical Procurement of Ukraine, and all partners on these outstanding achievements.
Тож хотілося б привітати з такими великими досягненнями весь український уряд, Міністерство охорони здоров'я і МЗУ та всіх причетних до цього процесу.
Looking forward, USAID will continue to support Ukraine's multifaceted approach to further expand and institutionalize e-catalog.
Звісно, USAID буде і далі підтримувати зусилля України на розбудову і подальшу інституціоналізацію послуг, які доступні в електронному каталозі.
This will include by increasing the number of medicines from the National Essentials Medicine List for procurement within the tool.
Насамперед йдеться про розширення асортименту істотних чи першочергових, першорядних медичних препаратів, які мають бути доступними через цей інструмент.
This will also include providing high-quality administration of the e-catalog to facilitate simple and transparent procurement procedures.
Крім того, ми підтримуватимемо зусилля, спрямовані на вдосконалення адміністрування цього каталогу, який дозволить забезпечити надійні процедури закупівель.
And for the MPU itself, it means breaking even on costs versus revenue of the program.
Ну і, звісно, для МЗУ це означатиме дальше зниження собівартості її роботи і підвищення її прибутковості.
It is truly inspiring to see that despite more than 2 years of Russia's full-scale war, Ukraine continues to roll out activities that increase transparency and improve access to healthcare for all its citizens.
Справді вражає те, що Україна, попри 2 роки жахливої війни, що точиться на її території, продовжує підвищувати прозорість і надійність роботи системи охорони здоров'я.
And to further advance the capabilities and use of e-catalog in Ukraine, USAID will continue to support the SafeMed activity.
SafeMed activity. USAID буде і далі допомагати українському урядові в усьому, що стосується реалізації заходів у сфері безпечної медицини. SafeMed. Okay, SafeMed.
Thank you. And we wish everyone the best of luck in today's seminar. I think from what we're hearing, it's going to be a very, very important seminar and an important discussion to have. And we look forward to hearing the results of what you learn and how you implement this further and take these actions further in your home institutions.
Ми бажаємо вам усіляких гараздів і успіхів в проведенні сьогоднішнього семінару. Ми сподіваємося на те, що результати обговорень, які на ньому відбуватимуться, будуть сприяти подальшому поліпшенню роботи ваших інститутів і організацій.
Дякую. Thank you very much. I got that.
Thank you.
Дуже дякуємо. Тепер хочу
Thank you so
запросити
much. And now I pass the floor for welcome address to Adam Adamanov, Director General of Medical Procurement of Ukraine. He will speak about key achievements of the catalog and the next steps to develop the instrument. You're welcome. Hello, everyone. We are happy to welcome you, and we are grateful to our respectful guests and international partners. Thank you for coming. We are grateful that today you have come here from various parts of Kyiv and the region to listen to us and to have a discussion. Hopefully it will be productive. We look forward to open dialogue, because if there are some aspects that you do not like, you are our clients, we work for you, and it's important for us to hear that. And thanks to SafeMed Project for organizing this event. This is a second event, and last year we started this tradition, so let's hope that it will be annual, and annually we will bring together respected guests, and we will see guests from various parts of Ukraine offline. And I'm grateful to my team who 24/7 do everything possible so that the Prozorro Market works. We also work with the Ministry of Health, and I hope that you are satisfied with our work. And if you compare what happened 10 years ago and now, you see that these are very different situations if we speak about the healthcare reform. And I believe that we will keep improving. And I believe that we can proceed with my presentation, not to take too much of your time. Do I have a clicker? Thank you. So, thank you so much. So, the key indicators and achievements of the electronic catalog. Maybe you have heard that already. Let me explain what Prozorro Market is and how it works so that we didn't have that many questions during Q&A about that. So what Prozorro Market is? This is part of the public procurement reform, and within the ecosystem, we had this joke that there is the large Prozorro, this is about open bidding, and there is the market. And the scale of the market was quite small. That was a pilot project, and it was like a baby. But now, actually, if you attend our meetings, if you check our correspondence, we no longer use this idea that there is the large Prozorro and there is market, because the market has been scaled up, and there are these procurements where in the market they buy as much as in the open bidding. The tool was invented, developed to make your life simpler. At the beginning, when changes happen, it may seem that it doesn't make it simpler. However, we've been working long with the tool, we use it, and what may seem now inconvenient for you because you need more time to sort it out, figure it out, believe me, it will make your life much easier. If you are used to procure some medications via the market and you've been doing that during a year, and that happens in a week, you do not need to draft bidding documents, and you have qualified suppliers. And now try and go back to open bidding. And you will see how much time and effort that takes. Can you really forecast when that ends? Because that can be contested and so on and so forth. So I believe that then you will see the difference. And the principle that formed the basis of Prozorro Market was like buying goods as if in an online store. That is why it takes time to develop categories, profiles, and adding products there, so that we have data architecture as in an online store, so that the procurer just enters and fills in the basket and comes up with the proposal, so that they didn't have to develop the detailed documents. A lot of people work behind the scenes. You don't see what's happening there. Now the ecosystem. Very often you have to come to us with some questions. This is a client service, and our employee, Eduard, I believe he is the most popular person in Ukraine among those who use Prozorro Market, because people call him on a regular basis. When I'm next to him in the open space, I see that he is the first one to come to work and the last one to leave, and most of his time he answers your questions. And actually, it's not only us who administer the market. This is an extensive ecosystem, and I keep reiterating that this is the first successful example of public-private partnership in Ukraine, not based on the definition in the legislation, but practically this is the only successful tool involving both private and public sector. If we speak about your access to the market, how you see it, the electronic sites are responsible for that. They develop the design and various features, various colors to make it more convenient for you. And you definitely know these large platforms like procurement, smart tender, play tender. This is private sector, private business, and they are the partner who at the very beginning, when Prozorro was launched, without support of private sector, without those platforms, actually, we would not have had the reform. And thus, based on these platforms, you get access and client service. They have a contact center that may help you answer your questions, take your hand, and show you how it happens if you are there for the first time, and we are grateful to them. Also in the ecosystem, we have centralized procurement organizations. It's not only us that we feel in this catalog. We only feel in the medical part. This is medical devices, medical products, and there are some procurements where it is difficult to categorize it, but we talked to the procurement organizations where we decided that logically this is us or not us who do that. Antiseptics and toilet paper, this is also something that we administer. There is another centralized procurement organization managed by the Ministry of Economy. This is State Enterprise Professional Procurements of Ukraine. This is a high-capacity procurement organization in the market, and their market share is a bit bigger than ours, but they administer all the general everyday use products. This is stationery and other products that are necessary for work of offices in Ukraine. There is another centralized organization, State Enterprise Ukrainian Specialized Systems. They administer the entire IT component. They have expertise there. Laptops, monitors, software that you can see on the market, and these categories are covered by the State Enterprise. And of course, this is about developing the policies, which is where the Minister of Economy is responsible, because they shape the legal framework, they set the rules of the game. For healthcare, that is definitely the Ministry of Health, and they shape the legal framework for treatment and also for procurement tools. And that's why the decision was made that for a certain category of medical products, the market would be mandatory. And also there is Prozorro State Enterprise, not only Prozorro Gov.ua as the site, but that's a team of people who do everything, do their best for all of that to work seamlessly. That's the architecture of the catalog, the database. There are several backup layers so that we didn't lose anything, and it is very transparent. Now, speaking about advantages and benefits, we will hear it from you if those are benefits or not. We expect for open dialogue, but based on our experience, we believe that the benefits are the following: automatic reporting and contract templates. We also believe that a significant advantage is the ready-made terms of reference, these profiles that you see when you invite proposals. You can see the terms of reference. This is different sets of features, and category managers do a lot of work to bring all of that to organize all of that, because you know that producers, they do everything possible so that their set of features were unique, so that they were not comparable with other competitors. That is why they register unique formulas and unique dosage. And that is why there are different MRI technologies, so that they were uncomparable. But we're trying to fight that. We try to make it so that terms of reference could cover as many suppliers and vendors as possible to ensure fair competition. And we believe this is the greatest value of the market. Then wide range of goods. Not always we had that. In 2019, 2020, we didn't have that many goods, but recently this is really wide range. If you've been long in the ecosystem, you can do the comparison, and that is due to the additional tools to add the products, crowdsourcing on the platforms that makes it possible for suppliers to independently add products. And we have MedData instrument. This is in-house development that we developed due to international partners. So via MedData, suppliers can upload a lot of products, and it happens very quickly and conveniently. Trusted suppliers, legal liability for how a supplier appears on the market lies on centralized procurement organization. So you can be sure that they are tested and verified based on all sectional lists, and where you may be concerned, where you expect some legal consequences, all of that we undertake, and we do that for you. That's another value. And since we now have other challenges as full-scale invasion, there are no limits or thresholds in Prozorro Market. You can procure for 1 million, for 1 billion. And again, that has changed because before the invasion, there was a threshold quite low, while now it is convenient. We believe that's a benefit that standardized procurement items can be procured for large amounts. For medications, that's quite a challenge because this is code 3 of CPV, and if a hospital procured something in the beginning of the year for a small amount of money, previously they had to then proceed with open bidding. But now via the market, the hospital can buy whatever they wish and when they wish. And I believe that makes it easier. And of course, you can use the catalog free of charge, and it exists because suppliers who win in the procurement procedures, they pay their fees to the platforms for technical support of the system, and people who answer your calls in call centers, they get their salaries due to that. Legal regulation. I believe I will not focus on that, will not go into detail. We will discuss that. You know, there is the law of Ukraine on public procurement, and happily, this is the unified, the only law. Not in every sector we have unified legislation. We are lucky here. Unfortunately, there are a lot of bylaws which are amended very frequently, but we are used to that. There is the resolution that regulates the catalog 822 and the resolution 1178, which has more or less replaced the law in the period of the martial law, and some other regulations, bylaws that actually replaced 1178. And here we explain how the resolution impacted the changes. Now there is an extended list of medicines. So everything that you buy is included there, and medical devices that are the most popular among the facilities. And 822, this is the resolution that does not significantly influence hospitals, but it impacts our activities within the system and how we coordinate with various bodies, including controlling authorities. And there are some changes which affect you, because previously the tool was a request for the price and offer. Now it is price offer, and well, definitely there is the exhaustive list to reject the proposals, and maybe you remember that previously it was not possible to reject anyone. If something goes wrong, you had to cancel the procedure and relaunch it, but now you have this opportunity there.
Про те, що вже говорили наші партнери,
So the results, something that our partners have been mentioning, and I'm very thankful that they're interested in this, they are looking at this analytics, is very valuable. It means that it is not only us looking at this, but someone else is checking this. So this both motivates us and helps us to make these results better. So we do have very good results when we talk about the sales, and indeed very good results when it comes to competition and savings, but we understand that it's not always the hospitals interested in this directly. So the hospital needs to get it right now, and what they need at the price that is good for them. But we are proud that the tool becomes more popular and more hospitals are using it. And to talk about the indices about the measurements about the sales, etc. So it's not only the mandatory category. So the hospitals are using the market even outside the mandatory list. So they want to use it, and we feel good about it. So what is important for us, where we are as a procurement organization, are focusing on is competition. And it's very important for us to make sure that more and more suppliers become competitors, because the market regulates the prices, and you as a hospital, so the broader the competition is, the better the conditions you get, and the more the suppliers there are, the more you have the options, because we live in a complicated period, and if one supplier basically failed, you need to have the opportunity to move to another supplier, then another supplier, etc. This is important. And if we just speak about the success, which is a very important factor, if we recall, like 2021, when the customer opened a bid, which is more than 130,000 euro, you know that it would take you 3 months. And you understand that if this procurement doesn't happen, then you will lose another 3 months to procure something. So when I recall these times, that was just a nightmare. So the success of the procurement is very important, and it's very good that in the market it's always more successful. It doesn't matter whether it's last year or this year than during the open bidding. So it means that this is a viable tool without any human interference. When it comes about the categories and goods, I was telling this, so there are 3 entities, very important. There is a category, it's very broad. There is a profile, and there is an item and product. I guess we'll have a lot of questions about the profiles from you today because you need more of them. We know about this request. We are working on it. Now, the examples of procurement. So we have a lot of hospitals here, and maybe some of you can share different kinds of experience. So for us, we always basically look at success cases. We look at them and they're motivating us because there are hospitals that purchase and they do it well, they save money, it happens fast, it happens efficiently, and it comes from all over Ukraine. It's not only like it's in Kyiv, we have more supplies and the procedures are more successful. We have the same observing in Sumy Municipal Hospital and in other areas of Ukraine. Now, the comparison of prices, so I won't be given too much detail. We'll have a separate blog devoted to this, and I hope that it will be interesting for you. And the plans, something that Nadia was mentioning and what you'll hear today. So indeed, you know, there is a bureaucratic side of it. So we have to follow the public anti-corruption program. We have to meet these requirements, and we do that in the market. We move according to the plan. What you may be interested in is the electronic contract saying introduced. So these are electronic agreements in the market, and this is a very painful topic, is basically to have the single unit. Basically someone is providing tablets, someone is providing in files. So we went through these problems in the centralized purchase. So that's the only correct way. So to bring it down to one unified unit. So it doesn't matter how many tablets you have per pack or how many blisters you have per pack. You just boil it down to one unit. And we have changed the profiles for half, even more than a half, and also the quality of the product. So we see some requests that you're not happy with the quality of the catheters or the needles. So frankly speaking, it's a very difficult choice, like how to make this qualification more difficult for the suppliers, because if we require like the European experience and using the USA, so basically all our national manufacturers, basically they don't have the European certificates, and we can't afford it, you know, during the wartime. Just we can't but support the domestic economy. But if we talk about more rigorous requirements to the transportation and storage, like the certified storage areas, so as 80% of all the private entrepreneurs that sell something to you, again, they are gone from the market. They will be gone from the market. So it's really hard to find a balanced decision. We're working on this, and so we'll set up a working group with international partners on the number of new criteria, and maybe we'll have some pilot cases about non-price criteria in the market. But we know this, we hear these requests, and I know that in the upcoming 6-7 months, we'll be able to address this problem to make sure you can choose not only the best price, but also you can have high quality of the items that you purchase. And we went through this through the centralized procurements, and we are aware of this problem, and we'll address this in the market. So that's all from me. I'll be here until the end of the event. You can ask me questions during the coffee break, and we'll have a Q&A session. And I guess then we're moving to the next panel, and then we have a break, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vadim, for your interesting presentation. And now I'd like to give the floor to Irina Horlova, the director of the S&D company, who will be presenting the results of the survey on the impact of the mandatory procurement in the Prozorro market on the regional procurement. The floor is yours. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, welcome, and I'm very grateful to the organizers for the opportunity to talk to you today about how the implementation of the e-catalog influence the public procurement system, especially the mandatory procurement through the e-catalog. So when I look at this slide, and basically I'm happy about it because this is the amount of the public procurement that over the past 10 years has increased like tenfold, even more. And I remember the time when at the start of the 2000s, we were sitting in a children's hematology department and we were ensuring the treatment of leukemia through the humanitarian aid. We were just reading the leaflets in French just to make sure we understand what we're treating the children with. So it was happening for many years. And of course, thanks to the reform, this has changed. And today we see that the state covers almost all the most important nosologies, and the implementation of the reform, the implementation of the national registry, national list simplified this. If we look at the comparison between 2013 and 2023, so we see the prescription medications, those that you can only buy with a prescription. So in 2023, the state was covering, so basically in the packages in 2013, it was covering only 8% from the overall use. So the 92% were paid just out of pocket by the patients. And now we look at 2023 and we see that the government, the country, the state covers 50% of the packages. So it's only 1 out of 2 packages the patient buys out of the pocket. And this is a real breakthrough. And we see a lot of different segments here. So this is the procurement from the departments of healthcare and the healthcare institutions. You see it accounts for 37%, and the program Accessible Medication that compensates a large list of medications, and also the procurements of the MPU and the international organizations, they compensate this in packages. It's not a lot, but if you look at the money, these are the most expensive medications that people basically wouldn't be able to buy out of pocket. And I believe this is a wonderful example of the reform going on. And now the basic principles will go back to the national list because it's mandatory for the procurement through the Prozorro Market. And our list is built in the following way. So we have the INN, the International Non-Proprietary Name, and then we have the norm and the dose, and that was about 427 INNs, and now we have more added, and the team is working to make sure that we have a single positive list where a lot of different medications will be included. And if we look at the share of the procurement from the national list in the procurement of the healthcare institutions, so out of all the procurement, this accounted in 2023 41%. Why? Because a large number of money, a large share of money was spent on the medical devices. So again, this is because of the war and because of the treatment of the wounded soldiers, etc. And a stable, a permanent share falls on the medications that do not belong to the national list, because healthcare institutions, the hospitals, they buy this medication, those that do not belong to the national list, of course. Now, if you look at this, you see the font is not that large, but the share that you are spending on the purchase from the national list, it's very different depending on the type of a healthcare institution. For example, the largest share is in the narcology in centers, infection diseases hospitals, and it's very low in the maternity hospitals and also in the military wards and the regional hospitals. Why is that? Because there is, most likely there is a difference in what kind of patients present to your hospitals and get the treatment, and what kind of medications you're using for treating them. And this can be a topic for discussion because it's not only this list that is purchased, but if we look at what happened recently, since the Prozorro market became mandatory for procurement, we see a full transition of the national list. You see a very little share that's left, like 94% of all the procurement when it comes to money terms, all of that moved to the Prozorro market. So the national list was purchased before. You see some seasonality at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, you were spending the money to make sure you have some stock of the medications and then have the supply for the rest of the year. And they were purchased through the bidding process and a little bit through the simplified procedures. And now we have this on the Prozorro market, and I believe this is a wonderful proof of the success, something that Adam was talking about. Now, if we look at the INNs that are primarily purchased through the Prozorro market, through the e-catalog, so we see the most widespread ones, like 20 biggest INNs, and they account for about 60% from the total procurement in the money terms. This is Eptiplaza, immunoglobulin, fentanyl, oxyprolin, omeprazole, and other basic products. It's interesting to see the share through the Prozorro market procurement or not. So if you look at the exceptions, so you see that like what you have in blue, like the last column is in blue, apart from immunoglobulin and peritoneal dialysis and also Hexol. So in half of the cases, it's not purchased through the Prozorro market. So there has to be some explanation for them why these biological projects are not purchased through the Prozorro market. Maybe we're talking about the transportation conditions and temperature conditions to be preserved or something like that, but that's interesting to observe. When it comes to the hospitals in Kyiv and Kyiv region, so the last quarter and the first month of this year, the latest month. So basically, all of the hospitals were supposed to move to Prozorro market. So what do we see? We have the Department of Healthcare, we have the Okhmadit National Center, we have the Nephrology and Dialysis Center, Clinical Hospital Number 1, Oncology Institute. Some of them have completely moved to Prozorro market according to the national list, and some of them keep purchasing through the bidding procedure. But again, this is just for the sake of illustration. So what happened from the point of view of moving to the Prozorro market? I forgot to tell you, like, where we get this data from. So we process 95% of the agreements that are published on the Prozorro marketplace. So all the agreements, all that can be processed, we are processing them. Yes, it's a lot of difficult work because it's in PDF or photos, GPG format, anything, but then we add this to the system. We add everything when it comes to the specifications, which medications, for what price, and who they were purchased from, to make sure we understand the overall amount, volume of the public spending, and how this is happening.
Now, what happened when we moved to Prozorro market? As Adam has mentioned, the frequency of procurement increased. So you can procure more frequently, and the average cost of one procurement goes down. This is like the electronic platform where you conduct procurement as if in an online store. I believe that's very convenient. Another thing from the point of view, well, now I will focus on that. Switching to Prozorro market also helped to reduce the price by 57% of cases for top 50 INNs, the price decreased. And that mostly happened due to that a greater number of proposals are available on Prozorro market, so you have access to a greater number of suppliers or vendors, so you can pick up those products that are more profitable. And of course, this is mostly about generics. This is not about the original immunological products. However, anyway, this is about significant savings. Now let's look at distributors. We refer to them as distributors. These are suppliers, all sales channels, and Prozorro Market versus Prozorro Market. In Prozorro Market, most pharmacies are involved, which sounds strange to me, but this is how it is. And another interesting observation in Prozorro Market, we have a lot of direct supplies from producers. This is especially obvious for Kyiv and region. Well, maybe Darnica, Farmak, they are here, so it is easier for them to deliver. However, that's much more convenient, and of course, you get the best price, direct price from the producer. And you see that in the top suppliers, you can see among them large suppliers and direct supplies from manufacturers. And now the conclusions. Public procurement has increased, and now it is they account for a significant share. Medicines on the national list really dominate. Now they are procured in Prozorro Market, and the list is almost fully products on the list, almost full list. They are procured, and that reduces prices of these items, and this increases, this makes the competition greater, higher, and you have better opportunities. So thank you so much. Here you see contact information, and if you need any information, do contact us. We had some ideas that we discussed here informally, so maybe we will proceed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irina. And now we proceed with the panel discussion in the framework of this event. So I invite the moderator and participants of the panel discussion to join us here. And now we will introduce all of you. Thank you. Hello. And I'm happy to see all of you here now, because offline, that's always cool, as Irina has mentioned, because informally you can develop a lot of good solutions, and also we contribute to development of a high-capacity instrument, Prozorro Market. The speakers, as well as EDEM and USAID representative, they said that from an ordinary startup, Prozorro Market has turned into a high-capacity instrument, and the turnover is more than several billion hryvnias, and I hope that we will later on speak about the same amount of not hryvnias but dollars. So the speakers, almost all of them are here, and let me mention some housekeeping aspects. Alexandra has mentioned that already, but I believe we should reiterate that. If there is air raid alert, don't be afraid, you will hear this siren, so you cannot switch that off. If there is ballistic attack, my colleagues will notify us, and then we will have to suspend, to interrupt our event and go to the bomb shelter, and further on we can come back and continue with the event. And the last comment, we are grateful to our defense forces for this opportunity to be here and to develop the procurement system for Ukraine. Thank you. Okay, and now let's proceed with the presentation of our speakers. Vitaly Ovsyannikov, Prozorro Market project manager in medical procurements. Dmytro Solovey, deputy head for development in state enterprise professional procurement. Anastasia Skok, head manager of state enterprise Ukrainian special systems. Natalia Kovalova, the manager of Zakupivli Pro. Igor Archipenko, commercial director of e-tender. Olena Yefimenko, the director of the National Cancer Institute. Larisa Brushenko, the commissioner for public procurement of Irpin Central City Hospital. So I believe that we should start with the amendments in the e-catalog. So Vitaly, let's start with you. This month, the government significantly expanded the list of mandatory procurements and the categories of goods that hospitals are supposed to procure via Prozorro Market. So have all the categories of products been included into the catalog? That's a good question. Can you hear me? Well, actually, we have had the first iteration on this list. We had the first iteration in 2023 when the government approved the first 108 categories that became mandatory for procurement via the e-catalog. Back then, that was our kind of pilot project, first attempt, because previously nothing like that was available. I mean, mandatory procurements via e-catalog. So we could see that via the catalog, the procurements were more efficient. And at that point, we piloted it. And that's true that there were this first 128 categories, and we encountered some issues to set them up very quickly, because actually we were not prepared for this step that they make that mandatory right from scratch. For the second part of that initiative, we were ready there. However, we discovered that there were still some gaps, or maybe somewhere we made the same mistakes, but we definitely were getting ready for procurement of medications. So as of the 1st of January 2024, all categories of the medications were and are available on the e-catalog. And regarding medical devices, or is that the next question? Yes, let's cover all of that. Okay, regarding medical devices, there was certain delay because not all of them were added to the e-catalog. Okay, let's wait for a notification if it is ballistic attack, or we can continue. In case of air raid alert, please go to the bomb shelter.
Використовуйте, будь ласка, евакуаційні сходи біля 20-го номера на кожному поверсі. На першому поверсі слідуйте за друкованими вказівниками, які далі підкажуть шлях до підземного укриття.
Ну да, всі вже почули, воно все є англійською.
Everybody has heard that in English as well. Sorry, we really cannot switch it off, so we will have to hear that several times, but that's important because we have had this development, because now this is aircraft in the air and it doesn't look so threatening. Now it is repeated. Yes, it goes in several iterations.
О, нас трошки легше стало. Дивіться,
Okay, now it feels better. Let's go back to medical devices. We had some difficulties at the beginning of the year because the resolution, unfortunately, did not stipulate any transition period for the mandatory nature of those procurements. So me and the team, we worked together to make sure that as soon as possible we develop the respective categories and add the respective profiles. And currently I can say that so for the categories that have not yet been open on the market for medical devices and that are mandatory, only 3 outstanding. Only 3 are outstanding, so maybe by the end of the week they will be available. So actually this is only 3 categories, yes, but that's about devices. For medications, all of them were available as of the 1st of January. Great. And since we have here representatives of hospitals, let's use the opportunity and ask questions to them. So how much faster do you now conduct your procurements, and have you increased the scope of procurement due to introduction of these categories? Hello. I wanted to congratulate you because those who are here at this event, these people understand that, of course, it is important above all to ensure availability of the products, not so much the process of procurement, because procurement for the sake of procurement, this is already in the past. For the National Cancer Institute, we participated in these procedures actually starting in June or July last year. We conducted 30% of procurement because of the
Ефективність була значуща,
This
ми будемо говорити, що ми дуже боялися.
6 months we conducted a lot of procurement, so we used the catalog and it was very efficient. Of course, we were a bit apprehensive, but we managed to procure that even though other ministries had problems with that. And also there were procurements that made it possible for us to save up to 50% of funds from what was planned. Saying that we set a higher price, well, no, we were guided by Prozorro or by the experience of previous procurements of hospitals in the neighborhood. Last year, we conducted 122 procedures via e-catalog, and this year, 75% of procurement of all the procurements for needs of the Institute, we have conducted that. And I believe that by late April, we will complete all the 100% of the procedures. And we have a lot of claims about for the team of Prozorro Market. Okay, it's getting hot. Yes, because in e-catalog now there are no laboratory reagents, which is important for us, and that's a significant part of our need. It's hard for organizers to sort it out because often we do not understand what we have to procure because reagents, that's quite a challenge. And also we expect the completion of the process for expendables because we have a lot of laparoscopy, endoscopy materials, expendables that we need to procure. And we expect that you proceed with the next step, procurement of equipment. That will be important. It's not about huge and expensive equipment, but sometimes you need to quickly procure defibrillator with an ECG machine. So we could start with what's not that expensive. And if we compare 2023, this diagram, what we procured mostly that's food. This is about 12 million hryvnias. And to ensure the catering, and we procured with the saving of about 5 million. And we have not yet used this 5 million because by improving the system of accounting for those patients who after lunch go home or who kind of pretend that they are treated inpatiently, but actually they are treated outpatiently. So we had some savings there. So we are moving in parallel, and we not only expect you to do something, we change our approach and our accounting system, and we're looking forward to your further steps. And we have some ideas that we hope to implement, and it will be helpful for all the institutes. We are completing that. We have digitalized all the protocol.
And we digitalized all the protocols, all the regiments. We can automatically estimate the need and we won't have the need to collect the information from the directors of the departments. We'll take the statistics over the 3 years, we'll do the forecast for this year, and for each nosology. The only thing that the director of the department needs to do is just to answer the questions, like there are 3 treatment regimens, and then 80% of the patients follow this regimen, 50% follow that regimen, 5% follow the other regimen, and then the software will issue 100% of the needs, and then basically the only way to introduce changes is just to go item by item, and if they need like something twice more than is in the program, then they would have to justify this. So that's what we're doing. And I don't, one thing to conclude, I don't understand anything about in the procedures, but as the director of the institution and as a person who has experience of communication with a lot of monitoring and audit agencies, I feel very comfortable when they tell me that this agreement went through Prozorro Market. So first of all, there is basically there are no we don't have to prepare the bidding documentation, and the speed of the procurement, right? I'm trying to prove to my employees. So if you need something quickly, well, it means you're a bad planner. You need to plan in advance. But sometimes, qualifying the participants of the bidding, it takes not only the time, but also it can be more or less demanding to some participants. So I started working in the Ministry of Healthcare, and I remember the first claims of the inspections. So I didn't understand why the participants who take part for like 300 times in the bid, so all 300 times they have to bring just a suitcase of documents, and when they every time they bring in their statutory document on 300 pages, like every time to the bidding department. I worked in a different department, but you couldn't just walk into the bidding department because they had like these piles of paper documents. So this is like a progress, like from moving from a landline phone to mobile phone. Thank you. Okay, so you said so many good things. Maybe you can mention some disadvantages. So maybe you can mention something apart from the positive things. That's why we're here, basically, to have the discussion. And we didn't want to make a presentation because, this is boring, but to talking this through and talking not only about the good things, but also to hear some constructive criticism. Why am I saying this? So this is our final event. We have this final event. We are having this final event in Kyiv because in January and February we were going to the regions. We were having meetings with the hospitals. We heard about the pains and problems and criticism. It was constructive criticism, and we are working on those areas, improving like something that stands in the way of the efficiency through the e-catalog. So now this is the moment when we're here at the panel discussion to talk not only about something good things, but also the bad things. So this helps us to develop, to change this instrument, to improve it in the long run. And again, as Adam said, we're working for you. So don't be shy. That's not to the audience, because I'm sure that in the audience there will be a lot of criticism. But yeah, okay, so let's give the floor to Larissa, and then Olena maybe can add something. Maybe she'll add more criticism. Yes, so please grab the microphone. So I don't know basically what to criticize for so much, but okay, so let's speak about the good things. Okay, so we also started. You can tell about the bad things yourself. So we started working with the Prozorro Market when it just came into being. I don't understand why not, because it's very easy, it's very fast, and you don't have this pile of documents to compile. So I don't know. Yes, there are some issues, like a limited list or there is some items which are not there, and then you receive the cassettes with the testing material, and it's just a paper slip test that just dissolves. Okay, so you just need to split this into categories to make sure that the customer chooses what they want. But we were addressing these issues because you can write a note for the participants, and we basically found understanding with our suppliers when it comes to the lab chemicals. There is a need, yes, but when I look into this, like for some analyzer, so basically I wrote down a note, and the supplier understood me and gave me what I needed when it comes to the medicines again. So from this whole list, we purchased, before it was mandatory, we purchased, why not? If you have this on Prozorro Market, why not buy this, quickly and maybe in small shares? And there is more competition, and the price is lower for us. I don't know. Everything is so, basically that's the way it works. So from what we heard from our speakers, I understood that the question was the following. So the faster you started doing, so have you increased the additional categories? And basically, yes, because I'm not saying that now let's stop using this. No, they're saying let's do it more because we want this to the Prozorro market. Yeah, we look at the need. Yes, we need this. Is it on the Prozorro market? It is, so we buy it. Is it mandatory? Not. It's not. Of course, it's not. Yeah, there is no way out, right? But if you have it on the Prozorro market, why not buy it? Yeah, so we went there and we bought it. Yeah. And of course, we increased the purchase. Okay, Olena, is there anything else you'd like to add or criticize? Maybe, yeah, you have everything in small font, a lot of documents. Okay, so we had a challenge with the paraffin in the most recent purchase. So basically, we could not add the company to the Prozorro market, so we purchased this twice cheaper, but we went through the regular bidding process. So this is about improving this. So I don't know why they could not add this supplier through the Prozorro, but we bought from that supplier anyway. But what I mean is that there are some bad suppliers who are registered in the Prozorro market too. And I would be telling the names of these companies, but we have some companies that constantly take part in the bids of the National Oncology Institute, and they haven't signed an agreement a single time. And we have been trying for 7 days to sign the agreement, but unfortunately the supplier is holding us throughout this whole period, and only after that, there is no opportunity. But we understand from the very first day they're not going to sign this, but there is no opportunity to move to the second participant. But if you're not lucky with the second participant, so basically we move to the same timeline as without Prozorro. Yes, that's true. This is to our procurement officers, the question to them. Yes, and we'll be raising this question about a little bit later. We'll be talking about that. So the lack of the national standards for certain types of items, and also cereals and flour. So basically, we couldn't buy like margarine because something basically does not meet the national standard requirements. And also, there are problems with finding up to 500,000 hryvnia worth basket of products. So it's more difficult for me because I'm not responsible for procedures. I can just read out what was prepared for me. And, there are some problems with filling up this basket up to a certain category. So if you have too much of something, that everything goes down. And we will try to reduce the size of the basket and just to buy 1 or 2 medicines and reduce the number of that, because it really gives more saving than the whole portfolio. But there is a problem with the experts, and there are basically sometimes situations when the agreements are not signed because there is no guarantee about the availability of the product. If we have to bring this have to have the bidding very quickly and also have it supplied very quickly. So sometimes they reject even the signed agreement and they say, no, we'll bring it in 3 months because it wasn't in the provisions of the contract. So maybe like we need to add the availability of the speed of supply. Again, we have this problem when we are really in a hurry. But again, this is also a problem with us because we're not planning properly. You know, I believe that the panel discussion could be stopped here, and just to answer all these issues that Olena mentioned. So we'll be talking more about this. So Vitaly, a brief comment. Yes, the last question I have. So basically, we need to separate the things that deal with the medical devices, for example, latex or silicone-based, the sizes. So there is no possibility to choose, and that's what we're talking about with the colleagues. So there is a group of products where we must have like either the composition or the sizes of these products. So this is about the catheters, the catheters, and we basically have to select the size and not just to agree with the suppliers, but they just want to impose on us something that they have on stock. So let me comment on this, right? So when we're talking about the medical devices, we clearly understand that we have some simple group of products, and we have also medical devices and medical products that really need more detail, that are more likely for individual use, not for every patient. And when we are talking about creating these specifications, because in the market, it's very difficult to standardize, you know, these difficult categories of medical products that Olena is talking about. So you need to have like a specific size, and then we have these examples about the sachets. So we understand, everyone understands this when we're talking about this. So even when you talk about the thesis collector, it's very simple, but it's not that simple because indeed these products are needed, you know, individually and of individual size and type. So we're trying to create specifications, but we see that it's not the way out, proper way out. So we'll be thinking this over with our team and also with the working group on how we could make these profiles. We don't call them the profiles, the specifications in such a way that you can basically purchase these products or maybe, you know, clarify them or select the proper size or just basically, my colleagues know this. So when we're talking about the surgical searches, you know, there are hundreds of profiles, and the hospitals keep requesting that, you know, you could create this or that category. I know it's basically one thing to have such a, you know, somewhere on the arm or leg, or, you know, some such in the microsurgery. So the way we're working, basically, let me tell this to the hospitals who are represented here. So we took a different approach. So we are asking the hospitals that do not see or can't find or do not have the specification in the e-catalog. So just to talk to the administrator in writing. Why in writing? Well, it's a different reason for that. Asking to create this kind of specification, and we react quite quickly to creating such specifications. There are issues, there are situations when this specification, you know, there are legends going around that not every hospital, for example, work honestly, but there are no hospitals like that here. But sometimes, you know, they ask for one specific type of product or from one manufacturer. So if we see that this is indeed some specification that does not place a disadvantage to the competition, we'll create such a category. When it comes to the sachets, to catheters, to the gloves, yeah, that's an interesting story with the gloves because it seems like a simple product and everything is clear, but we'll talk about quality later on, right? Yes, that was a very long comment from me. Yes, okay, so let's round it up. Okay, and I also wanted to present a bonus speaker so that you can't have too many speakers. Irina Zhurakivska, the head of the latent marketplace. Okay, welcome, Irina. And now let's move to, let's call this a different story. So recently on the legislative level, the procurement of certain types of foodstuffs became mandatory through the market. So Dmitro, can you please tell us something about these new developments, what is needed there?
Дійсно, з 14 березня 32 категорії продуктів харчування стали
That's
обов'язковими.
true. That starting on the 23rd of March, these categories became mandatory for procurement via Prozorro Market, and we discussed that whether we should do that since summer last year. First, we went to the Ministry of Economy, proving that it makes sense to do that. And then colleagues from Medical Procurement, Medicini Zakupivli, they introduced their mandatory list, and then the Ministry of Economy bothered us. When will you make more categories mandatory? The competition between the ministries also had its role there. But it was not a revolutionary solution if we speak about food products, because we started actively working on that in 2021, and then the reform of school catering started, initiated by First Lady Olena Zelenska. We developed the new school menu back then, and it was criticized, as any new initiative is often criticized and mentioned by Nadia today. The team of Yevhen Karpatenko developed the menu for school children. And then we stepped into that project, and we decided that we need to provide the ways for the state to procure this menu and this quickly. And that was 180 categories of food products. This is 35 large categories. And we started promoting that, and the customers started stepping in, educational facilities, but in 22-23 it became obvious that these needs, they cover not only the needs of educational facilities, but also private joint stock companies like Ukernafta. They now conduct these procurements. Large state enterprises, large hospitals procure food via Prozorro Market, and the proportion of procurements on Prozorro Market increased in an evolutionary way. At the beginning of the year, it was 10 to 15%. By mid last year, well, if you followed that process of public procurement, well, I believe we have this category of people here. There was this long story with procurements for the penitentiary service, where the Minister of Justice, Denis Maluska, from all the channels, he was speaking about problems with procurement for penitentiary facilities, for pre-detention facilities and prisons. They started procuring via Prozorro Market. There was a lot of attention focused on that. There were also some issues that we managed to address during 1 or 2 months. We made some technical improvements. And also we mentioned that now the customer can reject offers to avoid those cases where you know that they are not going to sign the contract, but previously you could only stop the procurement. And now there are some issues still. However, now it is clearer for the customer what to do, and now we don't have lots of such cases. So by the end of last year, some procurements of food products, so the proportion of the food products that are procured on the platform is sometimes reaches 50%, and it is stably over 40%. So the customers are ready for that, and they procure, the hospitals procure a lot in the market. And as mentioned by Vitaly, they enter and they see not only medicines, but other assortment of food products, and having this positive experience, they use that for other categories of goods as well. We had discussion with the Minister of Economy about how to shape that and which category should be on the mandatory list, because we understand that there are a lot of quite specific aspects. You mentioned margarine example, but also there are spices, beverages where the packing is important, how to procure water because the bottles may be different. And we decided that it makes sense to start with the most important categories. So we picked up the standard set that every customer procures. This is vegetables, eggs, and sunflower oil, and where there were the best indicators, because as shown at the beginning, that's relevant for food products. In some categories, these indicators are even higher. If we speak about vegetable, we understand that growing carrots and onion, this is not the same thing as producing some medication. So we speak about SMEs, about individual entrepreneurs who can cover those needs in the region. So there was already high competition and successful experience of use by the customers. And during the
Детально все пропрацьовано,
few
то ми
weeks of this working under the mandatory list, we did not see any comments or dissatisfaction about the list. And I see that, well, Vitaly had some comments. Maybe he will come up with more detailed description of those. So hopefully that will be a positive experience. We'll see the dynamic, and we want to expand that as far as possible. And it was mentioned today that in the draft law, it is stated that all the procurements below some threshold need to be conducted on the market. So we will aspire for that, so that not only food, but also fabrics, electricity, fuels, so that that could be procured on the market efficiently. Thank you. And then the question goes to the hospitals. Elena mentioned that you have already procured food via Prozorro Market. Larissa, what about you? Well, for food, we procure the catering services as a service. This is how we do it for our inpatient patients. And otherwise, we procured juice via Prozorro Market. And I was quite surprised that the price turned over quite good, even though that was a small batch for donors. Okay, then since now we have a lot of your clients here in the audience, who has ever procured, who procures food via Prozorro Market? Okay, let's take note of that to collect statistical data. Okay, that's not much, but let's hope that there will be more of you, because as Larissa mentioned, the price turned out quite delicious, so to say. So let's move on. We receive a lot of questions from hospitals, and them mentioned that already, that part of medical categories contain the non-unified units. So what will Medicini Zakupivli enterprise do about that? Because you mentioned that you are working in that direction. Maybe you can give us more details. Okay, thank you for answering that. Okay, so this question can be divided into two parts. First part, this is where we were contacted by suppliers of this of these medicines. They asked us for specifications without indicating the number of units in a box. Why? That's developed historically because the market was operational since 2019. And that was a threshold instruments, and the hospitals almost never procured medications because there were those thresholds, 200,000, and they didn't use this instrument, and you didn't use that instrument to procure medicines, because procurement of medicines, that's something much more expensive. That is why it was convenient for hospitals to procure smaller batches. And hospitals back then mentioned that it was more convenient to procure the batches of like 20, 25 items. And thus, historically, this profile is developed. We heard the market about that. Actually, this is about greater competition when the volume of sales increases. And then it would make it logical for all of us to move to the unified unit. And in this case, let me share the information that I have. We have 467 categories of treatments in the electronic catalog. Out of them, 350 categories do not have specifications in the name or the number of units in the box. We have 140 categories that we are trying to revise, and we will do that. We will change that, and then the specifications will not have those units there. Another question, as I mentioned, we are going to divide that into two parts. So another question is rather about customers, because we have here specifications that are referred to as aspirin, for example, without the number of units in the box. So you enter, you announce the request for proposal for a specific specification, and then the supplier is supposed to suggest, to offer, and they pick up the products that are available within that profile. But the trade name of the product is like aspirin number 10. And there's this confusion. You have this confusion there. Like I ordered 100 pills and I get this name number 10. So how do I count that? That is a bit misleading. That is why we are thinking about how we could address that. And that's the second issue. So first we speak about the specification names, and second issue is this adequate counting, not to mislead the procurers who procure like number 10 or number 15, and then it's not clear if we pay per box or per unit, per a pill or the capsule. So we have been working on these issues, and we have 140 categories that we need to address. And regarding the other part of the problem, I believe that we will communicate with our colleagues, and we have a good platform. All of us work, all the stakeholders, the state enterprise Prozorro and the manufacturing platforms, and there we find solutions for that. That's how it goes. Okay, shall we move on? Everybody understands that Prozorro Market is a convenient tool that makes it possible to procure quickly and in a most efficient way. So how to keep this balance of the price and quality of goods? For example, the hospital has a budget for high quality products, and suppliers supply something that is not in line with the stated characteristics, or sometimes there is no product and they say like, well, wait a little bit, it will be available there. So Anastasia, you are right there. Thank you. That's an interesting question, and that's a challenging question because we have a lot of stakeholders, and one of key stakeholders, well, they may be they may be not fair. So, and of course, there you do not accept that, and that's the simple way.
So what Lena was saying, this is about the draft agreement that you're uploading, and it has to specify all the conditions, all the sanctions, and the question of breaking the agreement unilaterally when, for example, it's non-compliance with the agreement or not basically delivering on the agreement. And another complicated story, and we are discussing it with the colleagues, this is non-pricing criteria. It's a very difficult issue, especially in the e-market, how to implement this. So we are discussing this. There are a lot of discussions about this. And, you know, there are a lot of both pros and cons. And I can't give like a silver bullet that would address all the issues. But again, we have to work, and with experience, you learn about this and make more requests. But if the suppliers are bad, so there is legislation that clearly states that you need to raise claims against these suppliers to make sure that they don't take part in the competitive in proposals, or they are removed from the market for some time. So maybe I can add something just to make it more specific. So basically, the procurement office is about the Decree 1178 that regulates the operations in the e-catalog, and there is provision 49 about the reasons to raise claims. And the only reason to raise claims against that is the refusal to supply. So basically, you can raise a claim if the supplier says, I will be supplying you with Moshinska water, but then he refuses to supply it, or says that the conditions for the payment will be different. He wants an advance payment, or he will be delivering this, not really not known where. So the question of quality and what to do, and we have this request coming in, like what to do. Like I was buying potatoes. That means like the national statements or the monitoring that meets the standards, but on the third supply something was delivered that does not meet the requirements. So we have these issues, and of course the customers raise claims, but of course basically there is no legal ground to raise any sanctions against these suppliers. But at the same time, together with the colleagues from other institutions like Prozorro and other marketplaces, so we prepare some draft solutions. So what to do basically in such situations and how to raise claims against the supplier. So I won't be sharing a lot of details because this is not a complete strategy, but basically we need to provide this possibility, and basically so that the customers know what to do if it's a poor quality of product delivered. And it's clear that you don't have to accept, you can't accept this, right? And you have to write it out in the draft agreement and to accept only the high quality product, because if you buy any product, it can be food products, it can be medicines, it can be medical equipment, it can be computer equipment. So basically you have to check it and make sure that this is the laptop that you were buying or something else was delivered. But if something else is delivered with poor quality, something that does not meet the requirements, it's clear, right, that there has to be a mechanism of what the customer needs to do and what would be the sanctions for such supplies. So now the market is mandatory, and such cases are not on a massive scale. There are very few of them, like less than 5% among all the procurement, but they're very painful. And of course, the customers, of course, are more willing to tell about the negative experience, something which is painful, rather than the positive experience. This is like, we all do like that. Like people go to Rosetka and write the comment like, okay, thank you, we received everything on time. But if something wrong comes and basically it wasn't delivered properly, and then you said, okay, it was, this, that we are more willing to write negative comments. So we encourage everyone, of course, to send their claims, but there needs to be an algorithm for that, and we'll develop it. And apart from the supplier's behavior, there is, this personality issue. So I can give you a specific example. So for our own needs, last month, no, it was in this month in March. So we were buying through Prozorro Market a small number of monitors and mouses, just because we didn't have the computer monitors and mouses, and we were working on the laptops. And you're saying like, why? You're saying why Prozorro is implementing this, right? We didn't have the mouses right at hand. Okay, but the essence of the story is that indeed the procurement was quite successful. We had a lot of competition, had a lot of savings, and the first supplier who was the winner did not refuse to sign the contract. He signed it on those conditions quite quickly, and we had a lot of saving. We had about 20% of savings. But the most important thing, most interesting thing started after the delivery of these monitors. Everything was okay apart from the communication, because I personally was responsible for accepting these monitors. We have a small team, and there were 8 attempts of delivering this. So from the 5th attempt, I started to worry because, Nova Poshta doesn't arrive, or something else is not happening, or they come to the office, no one's here in the office. So basically, there was some impression about the tool. That's something that we basically can't influence, because all the monitors are there, all of them are working, there's a lot of saving, but the overall impression I personally had like not the best impression about this. So we understand this, and I believe that with experience, this has to be developed. So like the supplier doesn't work with the public institutions every day. They're sending this to Kyiv, but the key thing is not to overcome, the cases when something is missing in the communication, because if everything was okay with the procurement and the agreement, but we have to focus on something that is not delivered on the proper quality, and then there needs to be an algorithm for the supplier of the customer needs to do that. So you're an optimist. You started to worry after the 5th attempt. Very cool. Elena, you want to comment something? Yes, I just wanted to recommend the following. So we're talking about a certain number of medicines for certain categories of patients who, whether we want it or not, but they have to be purchased. For example, for the transplantation, like some original medicines and non-generics. So there are international protocols where you have the specific names of medicines with specific brand names, proprietary names. So I have been facing this like for many years when I was working back in the industry. So again, the pharmaceutical business was told like, don't take part in the pediatric procurement market when we are purchasing this on the for the transplantation. So now it takes 15. It's taking still 15 years to address these issues. Maybe you can look at the international experience, because I know that this is a complicated issue, and you're like walking on the edge here, and there are a lot of risks. But there are categories of patients that for whom you need to buy the original documents, not the INNs. And we're talking about the transplantation where the life is at risk. So, and another thing, so that I don't forget, so what our procurement officers asked me to raise is think about the possibility to introduce changes into the application for at least 24 hours. So sometimes, there are some errors, just human error, right? Unfortunately, when there is so much pressure, they often make mistakes, and then you have to wait, for this timeline. So give like 12 hours, 24 hours, because sometimes it's not us who identify these mistakes, and the supplier just calls us and says like, what is it that you're writing there? Because it's just non-existent. Okay, thank you. That's a very good comment, because indeed there are cases when, the wrong code was introduced, and, something was missed, like a little typo, and then you just publish it, and then you see, and then, it's not, there is a mistake there. That's a very good comment. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the questions about the marketplaces. So tell us, please, how the companies need to find the right marketplace, because sometimes the customers cannot find the proper marketplace, and they can't find the right product. Hello, I'm Natalia Kovalova, so from Pro Marketplace. So as a marketplace, we're offering a number of options of search options for the medicines and other items on the Prozorro Market, and you can try searching using the name. It doesn't work very well, not always, but both our team and those who enter the products into the catalog work on improvement, and we accept your comments through our hotline, and we're trying to make sure that the search option works faster and more efficiently. Also, you can use the DK codes, the INNs, and also the catalog on the is visualized as an e-shop, and again you can navigate the categories and view what's there, and if you found the right product that you were interested in, and basically you can click on this item, and the profile automatically is filled in. So basically you don't need to take any additional steps. It's happening quite fast, and then you move to registering your purchase, procurement. And also what Elena said, that sometimes it happens that something goes wrong, and like the page was reloaded or the computer shut down, and you just have your basket full and everything was lost. Like we had, basically we had a story, we have a story of the basket, so it will be saved in your account, and through the history you will be able to go back to your basket and continue from the moment that you were dropped out. And there are different options, and as a marketplace we are always ready to optimize the functions that are operational, so please talk to our experts and we'll make sure we can do everything to improve the functions. So over to my colleagues. Okay, so we'll carry on because again, there are no ballistic missiles as yet, so we'll wait until these announcements are over, or we'll wait for Ihor to speak louder than the announcement. Okay, so hello, I represent eTender Marketplace, and Natala told you very well how you can find your item to cover the needs and to fill up the basket and to do the procurement. I will add just a very few things. So today, if we are talking about the comparison with Rosetka, so if you are doing something for the first time, if you are collecting the basket for the first time and you're doing the first procurement on any kind of specification, just call us. And Adam showed you very well, and I'm very happy that he showed this, and I'm also trying to show this. So there is the distribution of responsibility. So again, we have a lot of requests and claims that we're not dealing with about the products. So it's okay, and even if you call the wrong place, it's okay because basically this will be redirected to where it needs to go, and our managers basically are trained to address a lot of issues that you have when you call us, and to just help you to memorize how this is working and just to place the right kind of request. And if we talk about the user-friendliness of search, there are different types of searching, like INNs, etc., but there are different types of interfaces, and you won't find it very easily, like which field you have to type in, which INN, but we know how to do so. Please call us. And to speak about something more interesting, like Natalia said, so indeed, if you look at the number of problems that we are facing, and a lot of our customers and suppliers are facing, so you are bringing us the ideas on how to improve our product, and the situations when basically you have a blackout or the internet is gone, like we had last year. So the basket is saved, and that's cool. And also, we also made some improvements for some standard items. For example, if you regularly buy something, like just not like once per year because they have like an expiry time or something, you can add these products to the favorites, because you will need this product in 2 months. So you open up the favorites category and you just click on the categories and do the procurement. If it's up to 500,000 hryvnia, so you can even basically copy this and all the specifications together with the brand, if it's envisaged, because when I'm not talking about the medicines, but for example, about foodstuffs, etc. So this will be transferred, and you can be confident that this is the product that we'll be receiving, and this will not reduce competition, because we understand that one and the same product can be sold by 3-5 suppliers. So there you have the competition, but you will get the products that you want. Thank you. Can I ask the question to my colleagues? So to the marketplaces. So do you have some special training programs that you have for the customers? Maybe you have some document, some sheet, like how to add the item to the basket. Maybe you have some groups. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer this question. So at our marketplace, we have a learning platform, the Procurement Pro blog, where you can find detailed information not only about the Prozorro Market, but about the public procurement in general. And we keep updating it, and every day we add new information. Besides, specifically for working with the Prozorro Market, we developed a special simulator, and again, it's accessible on our Pro Procurement, so the customer can basically practice making the request. So it's basically a game-based format. And if I haven't tried it yet, again, this is something that even can raise your mood. You know, there are very nice characters and very funny items that you can practice on. So there is such a tool. Besides, there are also training webinars that we conduct together with the colleagues from the medical procurement, from professional procurement, based on the topics that our customers are interested in. So if there are some changes, like we recently had changes with the foodstuffs, about the changes that took place. So if there are any changes in the future, again, we'll be reacting very quickly, and when basically you conduct the training that is needed to our clients. Thank you. Hello, my name is Irina. I represent PlayTender Marketplace, and I'd like to add my colleagues. So basically, we offer training at our marketplace. They can be both online and offline, basically on any topic. And recently, what is quite important are the training on procurement through the e-catalogs. And also I'd like to add that at our marketplace, we have a trial version where you can basically have a mock procurement. So it's identical to what we have on the real procurement page. So you can create the plan, you can create the catalog and make the drafts. Basically look through the whole process of procurement. And if, some mistakes come up, so you can remove these and avoid these mistakes. So this is also accessible, available, and any kind of additional information, again, is provided by our managers. So I encourage you to use these functions. So you haven't used the market before and you have had some doubts. So first of all, just call the hotline and the manager will definitely help you. And this is going to be, and it's better to be done in the beginning than rather than correct the mistakes that may be made. So yeah, please use these functionalities. Thank you. So this is for free. There are no payments in the trial version, right? And it's for free for the customers and for the suppliers. Yes, that's also it's also for free for suppliers. So Vitaly, thank you for your question. Yes. Oh, that was an improvisation. Excellent. So all the marketplaces, again, we are trying to teach, we're trying to bring the information about any changes, and we are three competitors here, just like in the public procurement. The competition stimulates the development of the market. We provide more and more interesting things for our clients, and we are all smiling here, but we are competitors. So I can't but say that I was analyzing and I was using this trial version, and again, it's improving your mood, raising your mood. It's funny and it's nice just to practice if you take pro course. So about the courses, so we developed two pro bono courses for the customers, one about the public procurement in general. We're trying to update this, and it's difficult with all the changes to the legislation, but we're trying to quickly change and reflect all the amendments to the legislation, and we provide this to the clients who just don't want to make calls, who are not very happy making the telephone calls and just want to learn by themselves. And also there is a specific course on the Prozorro Market, so you can register, you can learn it at your own leisure. And if you have any questions, you know whom to call. And if we take the question of some individual things, again, so training, webinars, and what do you need to know about them? So I learned this just recently talking with the businesses and with the public suppliers. So in the digital times, the majority are not even subscribed to the Facebook page or, to some other social network of their marketplace, because this is where we announce all our events together with the colleagues, with consultants. So, but just by signing up any kind of social network from your marketplace, you can see everything that's being played offline, online events, also some special visits, because that's also what we do. Like we visit large groups, like there are 4, 5, 6 procurement officers. So we teach them and we do the first procurements together. And recently we made the first procurement with one of the customers on the Prozorro Market. who did this just with us. We're just trying to show that this is easy and simple, and you can buy everything. So on Prozorro Market, you can buy almost everything. Thank you. So that sounded like a commercial, didn't it? Okay, and just to conclude, before the Q&A series, let's have a panel discussion. So with the last question, so the marketplaces, this is more to you. So is it possible to reflect an average price of the product to see what would be the estimated price of the value of the procurement and how the hospitals could estimate this? No? Yes, so no. Let me answer this. So since we don't have the names of all the suppliers on the Prozorro market, this is close information. And what we used to have, like the procurement through the basket, we don't have them anymore. And the prices are not shown respectively. But on our marketplace, we have functionality as analytics through BI Prozorro. So we find any kind of item that we're interested in, let it be like gloves, like you were saying, just for example. So we find them a specific item in the catalog, the search function through the categories, like any kind, any type you're interested in. So we open the specific item, we look at the specifications, and we have a special button like the price analysis in the Prozorro market. So by pushing this button, there is a hyperlink to the analytical system of BI Prozorro, and there you can look at the statistics of the prices, and you can select a specific period, you can select a specific year, specific items, goods, specific region. You can select a number of specific filters, just whatever you need, and also look at the analytics of the prices based on the procurements made and the agreements made. And thanks to this, you can analyze a certain price dynamics. So if we take 2024, for example, the 3 months, right? So January, February, March, almost full 3 months. So you can analyze the actual prices and be guided by them, because these are the procurements that have been done.
Це питання дійсно виникло через те, що раніше ціни в каталозі були. І ті, хто давно користується...
Actually, this question raised, if you have long been using the catalog, there were prices in it, and they remember that, and they call us to check where the prices are. But actually, they didn't disappear just for nothing. Those who used the catalog back then, they could notice that the prices were not quite up to date, not quite relevant. Actually, it's not that the suppliers are lazy and they didn't update those, but actually there were those who were lazy. But the difficulty is that when the customer fills the basket, they indicate additional conditions on supplies or on the terms, and something else that may impact the price. And thus we see the situation where the price indicated in the catalog is not relevant. And that is why almost 2 years ago, we stopped implementing actual orders in Prozorro Market, and we proceed with the situation where each time that you supply a request for proposal, they come up with a relevant price. And then another question is where to take that price to fill in the template. And the colleague has mentioned the tool that was created in order to answer that question. That analytical tool makes it possible, based on those procurements that were held in Prozorro Market, to receive information on the average price. But that may be not the only source of information. You can also use the so-called large Prozorro to analyze and to indicate the prices. You can use Google and the internet to answer those questions. That's not the only source, but it may be helpful. That's true.
У мене, давайте тоді, щоб не затягувати, у мене буквально 2
коментарі. Not to make it longer, I have 2 comments. That's right. You can look via BI, or you can track previous procurements. As Adam mentioned, it's cool to organize these offline events because you can speak informally. And 10 minutes before the start, we have the short discussion on that. We have some ideas, and you will see some outcomes of those ideas. But actually, how do you check the price when you organize open tender? Just in the same way. We go to the websites, to previous procurements in our regions and where that have this cyclical procedure. So there is no convenient tool for that, even though BI, it may be used in a convenient ways, but this is something to further reflect on and to improve it. And if you do have ideas, please call us and indicate that. Okay, that's it. My question list is exhausted. Let's proceed with questions from the audience. Some 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, so then we will take a break if you have questions. One of the girls of the Valerias will approach you with the microphone, and then you can ask a question. Hello. Hospital 18. I would like to thank you all. Thanks to Prozorro Market team. We work with e-tender via e-tender, and that's so convenient. So I am really a fan of yours. However, my comment would be the following. I have had 2 procurements with Prozorro Market, and that is medical devices and the medicines. And now, speaking about medical devices, let me mention an example there. I procured the 3-step crane, and resuscitation doctors came to me and they chose a specific profile of that equipment of the 3-way valve. So they are quite satisfied with the manual procedures. I checked the prices on the internet, and the average was 33 hryvnias per valve. And my budget was then 82,000 something. Well, that was okay, but then I entered the profiles for those specific walls by specific producers, and that indicated the generic name. And when that happened, after the procurement happened, previous participants, oh, I had this budget like 17 or 15,000, and these walls do not work for me. And I say, I'm not going to sign a contract with you. And the first winner said that our manager would not be happy about refusal. They cannot add these walls to our budget, while our guys say we don't need these cheap walls. Well, maybe I'm speaking in a bit chaotic way, but I hope you understand what I mean. And these walls, well, there are several items on the list, and some say that one will have to wait for 5 days, and some don't want to accept the rejection, and eventually I have to wait for a week or so, and I cannot cancel that. Same for IV catheters. This is medical devices. That's where I may have the issue. But now I rather have the issue about medications. I guess this is what you mentioned, that there was this discrepancy, boxes and items. And now I don't know how to resolve that issue. We need the medications, and we don't know how to procure that and what to do, and if we can enter into those contracts, agreements, and indicate in our specification the way we need it or not. So I don't know. Who shall we ask this question to? I believe to Vitaly. Yeah, what shall we do? Okay, let's go back a little bit to the theme of medical devices. So what's the mistake of many customers there? When we read Resolution 822, and all of us read this document and we know it, so we know that request for proposal in the catalog is not made for a specific brand name. You cannot do that. we have specifications. Specifications cannot indicate the brand name or trademark. There are certain criteria, certain values. And when there are these platforms that include this thing where you can find a product and you expect that, well, you click this product, but you get something else. But you do not click the product. You indicate the criteria for these products. And in this way, the request for proposal will be not for the good that you made, but for criteria and for the value of this product. And now, speaking about medical devices, I understand this issue, and let me explain how we count that. We have 141 categories where we have not yet removed the number of items in the box, and many where there is no indication of the number of items in the box. Where we indicate aspirin number 25, there we understand that in this case, and this specification, that's a box. And when we count, we count the number of boxes, like 25, and they need 100, so it is 4 packs, 4 boxes. If we see a specification that does not include the number of units in the pack, there we count based on the lowest item. And we indicate that this is going to be the measurement unit. And now suppliers, they get a bit confused, and the customers as well. Because the customers might say that I chose specification number 25 and supplier thought that this is the number of units in the box. Well, that's quite challenging. Actually, we try to address this issue, but the situation and this problem, it is going to be recurrent. When I say that, well, you see the product and there is certain dissonance because you order a certain number of items because there were specifications without the box number, and here they add aspirin number 20. So how can we count that? There was a proposal somebody suggested, I don't remember who, that was one of suppliers, I believe, and that we make a certain recalculation and we talk to the platforms that maybe we will set up a certain window where we will confirm, do you really want to order 10,000 tablets or whatever to highlight that? So this is like an additional check that we are going to conduct. Let's try and do that interactively. Look, this is my question to the orders who buy these vials or pills. To what extent? Well, since you need to buy a specific INN and you have no opportunity to choose if it is urea farm or Garnica, would it really work if you had this specification like aspirin and one product like aspirin? Then you would submit application for 100 tabs and you would always receive 100 tabs. You cannot choose the packaging, but definitely for you it would make it easier to work with the agreements, because then you would have the agreement for procuring 100 pills, and maybe the colleagues from centralized procurements, you had this situation where it doesn't really matter because anyway you count the number of boxes. So can you raise your hand if you believe that would be an adequate solution? If it didn't indicate like aspirin, certain packs and just one specific pack of aspirin with this INN. You mean when this is an unnamed product, right? Without the specific name of the product. Well, there are two questions if I get it right. If we speak about the product, you can pack it in a jar, right? And 5-liter jar, and then you need to distribute it to the departments. And if it is about like 100 convolutes, but if it is like TB and we receive these huge jars with 1,000 tables, it doesn't work in bulk. It doesn't work for us. So speaking about the international name, well, anyway, you need to work on the mechanism. You cannot buy a car with like 4 wheels. We do procure a certain brand, and also with medications, not always you wish to procure what's cheapest. And everything that is registered, well, of course, we have the right to procure that because it was registered, but sometimes we want to procure branded products. If there are 3 brands, 3 originals, then yes. Okay, that's also important for you. I hear that. Thank you. I don't see any hands. We will not play this game again. Okay, another question from the audience. If I could add to that, well, I remember this is the 18th hospital and your name is Maya. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify if I got it right. So you have already conducted this procedure and now you're signing the agreement, right? Well, now we need to confirm to sign the contract, but we cannot do that because this is what we have, the situation that we have. Because we need to procure 600 pills, and we had to count that based on the tablets. And the supplier offers us 60,000. That's why I'm asking this question, because the colleagues asked, explained what to do that initially to adequately choose the profile. There is a solution. And because not everyone works with e-tender. So there was this positive practice with our colleagues from medical procurement, and they shared that, so we will also share that experience. Okay, now I see 2 more hands. Shall we continue? Hello, Kyiv Forensic Bureau. So to say something about quality, happily we do not procure the medications, but we work with medical devices. Apart from branding, there is also the issue of confirming. It is easy to say where you accept the goods, but actually it's not quite right. We receive a package and it may look very good outside, and we take all of the technical documents and everything looks perfect. And then we encountered the situation that when the war started and we received humanitarian assistance, the suits, costumes to work in the field with absolutely the same technical indicators. Well, our manufacturers, well, they lag behind. They do not, that doesn't work. So we invited the representative of the manufacturer and we had direct supplies from the producer, like, look at this poor quality, and they say, no, you just didn't use it adequately. So you see, my request to you would be this. I understand that you have a more extensive range of communication with decision makers. So, I mean, the issue is that currently we cannot prove that this is low quality product. The procedure would be too long. We have to go to the state enterprise for quality to prove that, and we don't have money for that in our budget. We don't have that cost item. So we need to think about this aspect so that we had the opportunity to determine the brand in the framework of procurement on Prozorro Market, because that's really convenient. But since we cannot indicate an equivalent there, we cannot regulate or prove. And that's not only about medical products, medical devices, fuel, same thing. You have your cars and you know that fuel in Oko or Moto gas station, the quality is so different. And the same technical characteristics though. And then proving that our vehicle broke down because we travel a lot, so that the cause was fuel.
Да, будь ласка. І вибачте мені, ще
So I
я
believe this is about the medicinal products, right? And also I'd like to add that probably in the draft, we need to be able to write this in the draft agreement, maybe as a appendix or something, just exactly what we need. Because now when we're trying to have a draft agreement, they were just saying that these are discriminatory requirements for us to remove appendix number 3, where we just wrote down, like we had, and about the catheters, about everything. We have a little bit different specifications, but the problem is identical. So the mechanisms of how to spell out the quality, to control the quality. So please help us prove that the goods are of poor quality if we receive them. Thank you for your question. That's a very painful topic. I was hoping that the Medical Procurement of Ukraine or others would have to address the issue of the quality of medical goods. Why did I hope that? So for 20 years, no one was dealing with that in this country, just absolutely frankly. Yes, there are bureaucratic procedures like declaration for this type or that type, certification for another type, etc. But if to speak about the oversight, market oversight and the inspection, so basically there was no budget for that. There was no function for that. So basically, it was spelled out in the decree, but it was never budgeted. And what we had, this supply of over the past 20 years of all these medical devices, so they were receiving the certificates, and also basically we have some private validation agencies and authorities like in every region who give these certificates just for money. So why do you address the quality based on the brand? Not because you're bad, but just because this is how the quality control system works. So the only indicator that could prove to you that this is a good product was the brand. It doesn't have to be like that in developed countries. That's not normal. And unfortunately, it just happened like that. So we as procurement officers, we are the last in the chain. No one thought like how this was imported. Was it counterfeit, not counterfeit? If VAT was paid or not? If the certificate was received legally or not? No one is thinking about that. All the law enforcement authorities on the inspections, they come to the procurement agencies because you're the last in the chain. We won't be able to address this quickly. That's a very difficult time that we had before now. And now when we started working with the medical products in the market, there isn't even like a reference document. So basically, no one knows how to add syringes into the catalog. And I promise that we'll be doing that. And every month we'll be trying to do something to improve certain items in terms of quality. We'll start with the very sensitive ones. We'll separate in vivo, in vitro. We'll start with those who basically are in direct contact with the human body. Then we'll move to other products. But we can't be doing this quickly. If you help us, we can do it better. There are like agencies who can help to do that, how this was done in other countries. I'm not saying that it's not our fault, but basically it's not quite right to make the purchases, the procurement agents responsible for the quality. For example, we buy fuel, Ukernafta 1. That's wonderful, but there are only 4 gas stations in Kyiv, but there are only 4 places where we can fill up the car with fuel, and we can't do anything about that. This isn't going to work better. It will if we create some preconditions for that. If we all say that we need non-price criteria, and we can provide the rationale why we need that, why we didn't have them before. So as soon as you want to make a procurement on the non-target criteria, so you have all the law enforcement agencies come and paying a visit. So if we can justify this, why we need that, together with the international partners, if we create a transparent tool of explaining, like, why do I want to do this? Not because I want to buy it more expensive, but this is what is important for me, that we'll be able to do that. And just just doing that like with an asterisk, you won't be able to achieve that. So it's politics, and we'll have to spend another year or two to introduce non-price criteria so that the law enforcement authorities do not open the criminal cases. But we can't address something in a month that wasn't addressed over 20 years. So that was a very valid comment about OCO and MOTO gas stations. So we understand that the specifications are the same. And basically, so if your yearly need does not cover more than 500,000, so you say, I buy from Ukrnafta or I buy from OCO. I had a couple of talks with the representative of OCO who said, just please remove that. We want to compete honestly. We have a big client base who will be choosing OCO, but we believe that this is a non-competitive way if you just provide this opportunity. So we understand the request from the customer. We talked to a lot of customers, and there is the same problem with one of those gas stations. I will be mentioning specifically, but the business doesn't want to do that. So if you just focus on the brand, and that's why I can only support Adam, that it has to be done in a different way without focusing on the brand, without focusing on like I will choose OCO or I will choose Samsung and everything will be great, because this is taking us nowhere. And in the long run, like you have Samsung and there is everything else, and we only need Samsung. So it doesn't stimulate competition, doesn't stimulate business or the economy in general. I'm sorry, just to clarify something. So when it comes to the quality control and proving that something is not of good quality, so I don't have a mechanism. I don't have a mechanism to prove that the item that meets the meets all my requirements and all the requirements of the legislation is of poor quality. Now, that's why I'm appealing to you. Yes, you're doing a very right thing. I'm just saying that not in the brand. So if it's a brand, it doesn't matter what kind of brand. We'll be happy to buy any kind of brand because we have very small manufacturers, and since the start of the war, we basically face this problem like these black bags, body bags. So a small manufacturer contacted us who made the packages which are better than the ones imported. But there is a very big manufacturer who has a lot of lawyers, unlike us, because we have only one lawyer and who's contracted part-time. So basically, that big manufacturer has the lowest price, and he doesn't refuse to use to sign the agreement. But using, this product is, it's unacceptable. So I just want you to pay attention to this. It's not about the procurement. It's not about the marketplaces, but still, you you have some legislative initiatives. So we need to have a mechanism to raise a claim and prove that the quality is not of proper quality, and not using and we don't even have the funding for that from the budget yet. That I agree totally, and what Adam said is very relevant. So with this question, you basically hit right on target. So we were talking about this recently. I will be talking about this. Like Adam is saying, this is not a quick decision. There is no quick solution to this. But the only thing I wanted to note, and I think everybody noticed that. So now on Prozorro Awards for 2023, so Nadia Bihun, sorry. So Nadia Bihun said some very good things, and she repeated them today. So Prozorro and the public procurement in Ukraine. So now it's not about economics. It's about the quality too. Not about saving the money. It's about the quality too. And basically, these are the pains that you're sharing, the problems you're sharing. So these can be addressed. So thank you for raising these issues. Thank you for focusing on those. Thank you. So another question, and then during the break, you'll have the possibility to talk to the speakers, because no one is running away anywhere, and you'll be able to. Okay, so hello everyone. Children's Hospital number 7. So we have been using Prozorro Market for more than a year. and we like this tool, and it's quickly, it's painless, and fewer documents for us. But I wanted just to comment about the medication. So when you're saying that we can then identify like the exact number of pills and tablets, but then right now the suppliers are selling the medicines in packages. So we indicate the number of packages, but in the agreement, number of tablets, but the suppliers basically there are it's about the packaging. So if I want to buy 100 tablets, so number 16, it's not clear how many packages I will get like 2.5, 3.5 packages. So just like a comment. Secondly, so please pay attention to the medical products that require more specification, more specific characteristics. So last year we could not buy intubation tubes because they are in the catalog, but there are no characteristics to make that they are curved. So we need curved, like south curved, north curved. So how the supplier can understand what kinds of tubes we need if it's not indicated anywhere. They give us the straight tubes, and I have to sign the agreement for the straight tubes. So please make sure that there are items that need to be more specific, like the sizes, and just to improve this. And another painful third question. So do you plan to have any changes to the there are a lot of problems with signing the agreement over 5 days. So so the system is identifying the supplier. So the customer does not have to take the decision about identifying the winner. So I have to press the button confirm the winner, because until I confirm, it's in the system, it says qualification. The suppliers are waiting for me to press the confirm button. So today I'm at the conference, I can't press the button, I will press it tomorrow. And they're counting 5 days starting from tomorrow when the system shows them that they are the winner. And I understand that I don't have to take the decision. I count 5 days starting from today when the system showed me who the winner is. So do you plan like making some amendments, maybe to the amendment to the degree, or change it to the function just to write so that everyone understands which day counts for counted for 5 days? So let's start from the third question. Just a quick answer. Yes, we are planning to amend to the degree that regulate this issue. Okay, just look at this reaction. So there are a lot of requests to the hotlines. We hear this, we understand this, so we are discussing this in the working groups. So that's why, together with the ministries, we had a couple of meetings, and these changes will be implemented. But we understand that amending a decree is not a very quick process, so we have to wait a little, and this issue will be regulated. And when it comes to the first two questions, so just Vitaly, I think, needs to answer them. Yes, so we are discussing the number of either we're talking about the specifications or categories. And another question we have, so in the decree about the mandatory use, so we have the indicators, and so what kind of test papers these are? So it's test strips. So this must be some specific kinds of strips, I guess. This needs to be specified. We need to solve this together, like to add some criteria. But again, we're saying that maybe, the name of the specification, like curve north, curve south, maybe, or maybe this has to be added as a separate category. We just really have to look at those criteria, like what these tubes are used for. But again, together, we'll be trying to address these issues, of course. So the same problem with centralized medication. So we announced a tender for 1 million tablets, but they suggest a certain number in the packages. But then in the agreement, specification agreement, we indicate if this is needed for accounting, and not always 1 million that we announce is really a million. So in 95% of the cases, this is the reduction of the number. So we announced for 1 million, but we purchased 999,000. So And then in the specification, basically, we have some differences. So you have the total number, the number per package, and the price with VAT, without VAT. And I understand the problem is that in the market, the specification is uploaded from the profile. You can't change it, and you need this to match. And then it's logical when profile you have the smallest unit, and then the item that is suggested is the like the total number and the multiplier. So it will be just added to the electronic agreement. The speakers are not using the microphone. I'm sorry. Interpreting is not possible. But it will just be added to the electronic agreements from the profile. It will just simplify your life. So today at the conference, you said like you will press the button tomorrow, and I see Eduard. There will be a lot of suppliers who won't get help from Eduard, so he'll have double work to do tomorrow. Okay, so now I would like to thank our speakers, and I'm more thankful to you because thanks to your feedback, the Prozorro market will be able to develop. So thank you, everyone. And now let's have a coffee break, take some break, and at 2 p.m., please come back. Thank you.
Колеги, ми будемо розпочинати.
Colleagues, we are going to start, and if you have not yet joined us, please join us ASAP, and we start. So we start the second part of our event, and it's going to be focused on regulation of relations between the customer and the supplier. And the first speaker is Stanislav Ivakhnenko, Head of Compliance and Anti-Corruption Department of Medyczne Zakupівлі України. He will speak about the mechanisms to ensure cooperation with the participants of the e-catalog. The floor is yours now. Hello, dear colleagues, and thank you for attending this event. And I'm going to speak about how us, as the administrator of the key e-catalog, how we regulate relations with the suppliers, how we check their compliance, and what factors are included into the grounds for rejection. So before the 1st of September 2023, the grounds for rejection, apart from qualification criteria and others that's stipulated in the proposal, and that only included 4 grounds. And then amendments were made in Resolution 822 that regulates the procedure for development and use of e-catalog, and this expanded the list. When we check compliance or non-compliance of a supplier as a participant who applies to e-catalog, so we check that after they have submitted the application for qualification.
В певну категорію товару. Категорія товару визначення у нас це все регулюється також постановою і встановлюється, відноситься по CPV-коду. Відповідні заявки
Inclusion into the list of qualified suppliers. These applications are considered for qualification and inclusion into the catalog, and during 10 days from the date of reception, and as a result, us as the administrator of the medical part, we make the decision to include them on the list or to cancel, to reject. So if we reject the application for certain grounds, based on certain criteria, they can still reapply after a day or two, as soon as they address and eliminate any deviations, and further on they can be included into the list of qualified suppliers. So what are the grounds? These are not qualification criteria or other requirements, but these are the ones that are included into 822 in item 4. Before the 1st of September, as I mentioned, the grounds included the following. Information about the participant was entered into the corruption registry. It is actually a registry of individuals, of entities who committed corruption-related crimes. It is administered by the National Agency for Prevention of Corruption. So if it is an individual, then data on the individual, or it may be a legal entity. The second grounds was if the applicant has not submitted information about the ultimate, the final beneficial owner of the participant. Currently, it's only about residents, even though according to the regulation resolution, it's possible to include non-residents as well. Another reason, if the participant is declared bankrupt and liquidation proceedings are initiated, and if the participant is subject to sanctions. Starting from the 1st of September, and that implies that the legislator keeps improving the mechanism, so that was extended and it was brought in correspondence. Well, maybe you know that previously in the law on public procurement, that was Article 17 that listed the criteria. Further on, that was included into Resolution 1178. So now we check all the criteria that apply to open bidding. If they are on the corruption register, the participant or the management, if they committed some corruption offenses, if they were brought to liability for some collusion, anti-competitive behavior, that's quite a long list. If that they include the share of ownership of Russian Federation or the Republic of Belarus. So now this is a full list, as well as it applies to open bidding before we include the participants for certain categories of goods. However, there are certain exceptions, and they are stipulated in Resolution 1178 that regulates open bidding as well. This is where the registry of qualified suppliers include the participants who have a certain participation of Russian Federation or Belarus, or if they are citizens of those. Maybe you called us to check that, because we received these questions why there are participants where there are certain Russian assets. So according to legislation, there are certain exceptions. This is where this share was transferred for management of ARMA. This is the body managing, newly established body managing the assets. It's been operational since 2016 or 17. So this is where, in the framework of the criminal proceedings, they receive some assets, they dispose of some assets. So in those cases, we check that those assets were managed by ARMA, and this is made with a court decision, and where they are arrested and forfeited with a court decision. So if a participant has a share of Russian Federation, they need to submit the respective certificate for us to accept them. And we had an interesting case there. So we had a case, for example, where one of participants submitted an application for qualification, and we find out that the same person with the same name and patronymic was reflected in the registry of legal entities as a citizen of Belarus, and then they entered the information about that they were a citizen of Poland. We analyzed that, and we found out that Poland allows double citizenship, so we developed the application requesting the documents that prove that the founder stopped citizenship of Belarus. And we did not receive those documents, and thus we worked on that issue. We resolved that case in such a way that we did not include them into the registry, and there were no further complaints about that. So we try to conduct the proper checks, and we only admit those who meet the criteria as set in the resolution, those that have submitted the confirmation documents that they meet the requirements, and so on and so forth. But of course, the fact of that we check that today and tomorrow we do not include them. Well, these cases may also happen, but for that sake, we on a regular basis, we check that, for example, they are not on the lists of entities brought to liability for the respective offenses. So we try to collect all the information, all the codes for those suppliers that are included. And so on our side, on our end, we try to make sure that we do not admit non-compliant suppliers for procurement, for submission of proposals. But if you find out about these cases where some non-compliant participants to be included as qualified suppliers, if you want us to check some facts regarding Russian participation, for example, please contact us. We will come up with the respective information with court rulings, and we will conduct all the work to confirm qualification of these participants. That's it on my side. Thank you, Stas. Now I pass the floor to Sergei Malinchuk, head of the Department of Public Procurement of Medicinae Zakupivli. He will speak about contract management and ways to protect the clients and how to conduct successful procurements. The floor is yours.
Hello, dear colleagues. I'm very happy to see so many participants, so many people who are interested in this topic, and those who are developing this area together. And Olena Yefimenko said something very interesting today, that procurement is not for the procurement itself, but for the result. So we are working together for the result. And the same deals with the spheres where we work with the tools that we're working on together. We're developing them and we're trying our best. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for the questions that we received before the event and during the event. During the presentation, I'll try to answer those questions, and there will be a Q&A session after my presentation. So first of all, I'd like to say that this block is important because we're talking about the agreements and about the agreements management and about protecting the rights of the customers and the customer's interest. What is it? Where is it? So if we imagine that a customer is not some individual in a vacuum, so it's a representative of the authorities who's basically works for the public good in the long run, and the customer's interests are the society's interests. So the society is interested in the customer's efficient activities. So if we're talking about procurement, then the society is interested in effective procurement. That's one thing. Secondly, we understand that this is a very dynamic area. There are a lot of changes both in the legislation and in the technical digitalization tools, and we can be proud that we are trying to follow the trends and follow the time. But I believe that both now and in the near future, artificial intelligence will not replace a procurement officer, and basically we have to be responsible for this and the efficiency of a procurement officer, not only the procurement officer, but the whole team who is working in the institution deals with the procurement more or less this or another way. So the experience of these people, their financial motivation, other kinds of motivation, has a direct impact on what we as the society receive as the outcome of their work. And this information is for the directors of all the institutions and organizations. So we all have to understand who we are working with, and the protection of the rest of the procurement officer starts with the person who is working with the procurement officer. And if we're talking about the procurement through the e-catalog, it doesn't start from a request or from the request for proposal. It starts from the administrator of the catalog. So the category was created and the participants were checked and qualified. So last year, we received more than 2,000 requests for qualification of participants, and that was in the second half of the year. So a lot of participants, and then we create the profile, and then we do the checks, and then the customer can work with the goods that these profiles have been filled in with. But our activity is not finished then, because the administrator carries out not only the input control of the participants who make it to the catalog, but also the post-factum control. So basically, behind the participants and behind their meeting the requirements that are envisaged by a Decree 872. So we are following them, and we can remove them from the catalog, or we can suspend them in the catalog. So there was a question of the protest against this. So we have an request in the catalog. So I encourage the customers to use this function. If, for example, the participant does not sign, so the winner does not sign the agreement, so just send a request, please. And we're reviewing this request, and together we can make sure that the market of the suppliers, basically all of them raise their discipline level and their good practices. So now we have only one participant who was blocked in the catalog as the result of a request that we reviewed from a customer. So there were 3 requests or 5 of requests and against such participants, and he's blocked for 3 months. So maybe it's not long time, but this can be very productive month, and the participants basically will feel that when it comes to their budgets and their commercial activities. So now the functionality is working. So please send the requests, and we are looking into these requests. So if there are 3 requests or more, then the participants are blocked. So that's how we filter those who are not conscientious, and will improve the quality. And this complaint system will be changed a little. It will be simpler. It will be easier for the customers to send their request, and everyone will be able to see the request, what was wrong, and what the result of the complaint review is. So please use this mechanism. So the procurement stage is on the customer side. And I'd like to say that we often, when we talk with the procurement officers, we talk about plan very often. And very often it's associated with what is written in the law on the public procurement. And I encourage you to use this definition like planning, and also to use it in your work, just like a calendar plan of my activities as a procurement officer when I'm announcing something, when I just addressing some issues. So I basically announce something, qualify something, and the planning the procurement is an extremely important element of our work, and the quality depends on this. And basically, a final agreement really depends on this planning. Now, about the expected value, so there was a question raised. So how do we identify this expected value? So are we going to have the prices, estimated value, are we going to have prices in the catalog back? So now we have to move along the lines of the legislation provisions. So again, the relevant public agency, anti-corruption agency, is monitoring the requests. So basically, we communicate with the market, we ask for the price, and register this experience, and write down the price proposals, even if it comes in by mail. So it works. Then you can prove that you were right in identifying the anticipated cost, and then the volume of purchase. So think of what kind of volume you're buying, especially if we're dealing with the goods that basically you're interacting with for the first time. Maybe you don't need to buy everything you need, and maybe buy it per month or per quarter, and take the share that need this urgently, and then it's not a long timeline in the e-catalog. You can plan this. Again, you agree this with the customer inside your organization, and we plan the procurement. And if you come up, if you experience the case of a bad supplier, so basically you can announce another request because you have more volume that you need. So use these possibilities, plan. So this is about planning. Now, the requirements to the quality, that's a painful topic, and there were a lot of questions that were written down or asked here. So not a single organization is not able to address this individually, and the customer has a leverage over the procurement. This is the agreement. Everything we write down in the agreement impacts the quality that we get in the long run, in the end result, and the customer protects his interests through the agreement. And basically, this is the management tool over the supply, and also as a tool for protecting the interests, including through the court case. So we have to have all the provisions in the agreement that will make sure that we can manage this and have the court protection, and also the content of the agreement. This is where the customer is responsible for. It's not only about the responsible persons who have to understand, and I can say that a number of draft agreements, typical master versions, or templates developed at the Ministry of Economy and by the Central Procurement Organization, and you can also find them on the QR code and also on the webpage Infobox Prozorro. And there is a template that we were working on about the medical procurement of every customer. We took a typical agreement and we were adopting it because we are a customer too. We were purchasing electricity, for example. So we downloaded the agreement, we adopted it, we wrote down all the specifications when it comes to the medical equipment, devices, medicines, etc. Then we asked all the stakeholders inside our company. We talked to the market leaders, the market participants. We adopted one agreement template, and then we use it all the time. So we're saving our time. And even if you buy once per year, you have an agreement that's ready, that's just there. And most of the procurement happens more than once a year. So just download the agreement, adopt it, use it, write down the provisions that you need, and see how the large customers are buying. So that the question about the quality, where do we take the quality criteria? So we look at other customers. So we have the quality criteria in our agreement. So please call us, and we can provide you all the necessary consultation, so the customer knows what he needs and when he needs it. And a typical agreement as a template can be is not basically it's not possible to do because you can't really guess what every customer needs, every individual customer needs. But customers can use templates and add the appendices, all the specifications that are changeable So about the number of the items, the name, the sum total, add the deadlines, add the timelines, this delivery date. So if you make changes, then you will make the changes only in the appendix, and then you can use this agreement as a template for other procurement. And the only thing that changes is the appendix, and all the non-changeables will just remain in the body of the agreement. And then also ensure the provisions for supplying pro parts. So again, what do we do here? So we received poor quality goods. So it's clear that we don't accept it. So we were delivered low quality products, but we do not accept it, right? So basically, we need to add the provisions due to which we basically do not. We ask the customer to replace the product. If the supplier does not replace the product, then basically we include some sanctions provisions, and we add the timeline, poor quality request. No, it's not replaced. Then the agreement is terminated, and then you start a new procurement. Yes, it's extra steps, but that protecting interest. You don't accept the low quality product. So you can order some share some parts. So you need 100, then you order only 10, and then you see that these 10 are of poor quality, and then you basically do not take the rest and accept the rest. So you either terminate this agreement or don't order anything based on this agreement, and there are, you can announce another contract until its time validity. So the sanctions, this is something that you need to do. You have to ensure yourself against, having any interaction with this kind of supplier, and also amending the agreement. So there was a discussion here during the break. The agreements that were made based on the procurement in the catalog fall under all the norms envisaged by the law on the public procurement, and the only thing that you have to be careful about is about the 20% in the end. Basically, the 20%, it's reducing the volume of procurement by the end of the year if you add the procedure next year. So this is the definition now. You have to follow it. If you have the bidding next year, you can use this opportunity to increase the volume of procurement based on the separate procedure, and amending the agreement has to be part of the agreement. And also there are 5 calendar days, so there is some confusion between the suppliers, consultants, to some degree. So right now, the decree mentions specifically that the system identifies the winner. So if we see in the winner, in the system who the winner is, and we see the price, so starting from the next day, we count 5 calendar days, no matter what the participants say, and no matter when you press the button. So 5 days start from the moment when the system identifies the winner. So let's follow the legislation provisions. We do not sign the agreement on the proposal. That does not mean the terms of reference, the technical specifications. So you have a winner, you look at the technical specifications, you see all the brand names, all the characteristics, you fill in the draft agreement, and it doesn't take much effort. You just copy and paste the content into the draft agreement, and then provide your draft agreement for the signature to the supplier. So also basically we were faced with situations when basically everything was just as agreed, and then you see that something has been changed, so some characteristics have been changed. So ensure yourself against this, and if you're working the original, that's one thing. If you're agreeing there's just code it to make sure it's coded in PDFs so that no changes are made. But please, I encourage you to get the electronic documents. For example, Vchasno system is a very good system. It's just a very convenient system to use. So you ensure yourself against any changes to the text that was written in the agreement, first of all. And secondly, you quickly sign the agreement, and you don't keep the originals. The original is in the system. What are some other advantages?
Учасник відмовився, він відмовився його керівник, йому прийде на підпис.
And if the participant rejects, the management rejects, you can also document that. If you are in contact with the suppliers to coordinate the agreement, or if you submit the agreement contract to them for approval, do write a cover letter. And you can develop the template and attach it with your signature. This is the contract, this is the deadline, and unless you return this signed contract until that deadline, before that deadline, so it is deemed not signed. It is at least something to secure your situation if the participant doesn't want to sign the letter of official rejection. And there are a lot of such cases, and in those cases, we have to wait for 5 days. We also wait for that period of time. We cannot do anything about that. We complain about those suppliers, and then they won't behave like that. We've discussed the most important aspects. We've discussed the quality. An important aspect is that the draft regarding the draft contract, not always the customer can independently assess the quality of products. Any kind of customer, no matter what's the scale of the procurement, so there it is possible to engage third parties. How we indicate that in the contract that under certain circumstances where a batch of low quality substandard product comes, and then we document that for this specific product. Like we receive PCs and there is some wire sticking from it, or the integrity of the product is broken. So then we try to figure it out who can be the expert, or who has this expertise in Ukraine to come up with the opinion on the quality of the product. And we include into the contract the possibility, the option of involving the third parties for this analysis. And the cost of this analysis and the opinion drafting shall be covered by the supplier. It would be fair, because if they deliver goods that raise doubts, where the quality raises doubts, then it is fair that they compensate this endeavor to confirm or get rid of these doubts. Again, we request a replacement of low quality products, and termination of the agreement is a convenient tool to announce the procurement again. Well, actually, this is the only tool where you do not accept substandard products. You terminate the agreement. If necessary, you can go to court and you terminate activities, the work under that contract. You announce that the scope will not be provided, and then you start from scratch. I have commented on amendments to the agreements, and I believe you know what that's indicated, and these are the important aspects. Well, this is not an exhaustive list. I believe that most procurers come across such situations, and they really impact the results. That's about that. You cannot amend the announcement. And also, that's about that we need to take into account where we indicate the amount and the quantity. Not always the customer can indicate the amount with VAT, for example. Some work with paying VAT, some don't pay the VAT. We use the notes box. Some of the colleagues mentioned that they noted some information that is important to guide the supplier, because as the procurers, the customers, we are most interested to get the proper products in the framework of the procurement, and thus we need to clarify what we expect. If we need to give some triggers or incentives for that, you should use the note box. Like, pay attention that the supplies need to happen in installments. And a lot of participants do not read draft contracts. So if in the contract we include some know-how, some new provision, do highlight that in the notes to attract attention of the suppliers. And also it may happen on the side of the customer that you develop a new draft contract, or you add something new there, or you decide to quickly, urgently conduct the procurement without consulting the market. Then we indicate that we have 2 days to submit the proposal. Then we say, well, I received I received offers only from sole proprietors who have no experience, but take into account that large suppliers, large companies, as we mentioned, they have their compliance procedures, they have their legal departments. They will not sign a contract without reading that in detail and looking through that. And very often, the deadline to open the offers is 2 days, and 2 days is not enough to work on the contract. So then these suppliers would not contact you, or they contact you without having properly read the contract. So considering the complexity of your procurement, do set the proper deadline for submission of offers. I believe that's it on my part, and I wish you all successful procurement. Thank you, Serhiy, and thanks to all the speakers here. Let's start Q&A session. You can ask questions to the speakers who have just spoken. We also understand that you may still have questions to the previous speakers. When we had that discussion panel, you also can ask these questions to them. So please raise your hand, introduce yourself, and please 1 or 2 questions so that everyone wishing could ask questions to the speakers. We still have several questions, issues, questions that you raised during the registration, but let's start with questions from the audience. The impression is that Prozorro Market is for low quality goods. And what indignates me, well, speakers said that patent or the brand doesn't matter, but based on our experience, it matters a lot, because with one product, the patient will die, with another one, he or she will survive. Another rhetorical question: why did you decide to implement the pilot activity with medical products? Because there are sectors where it doesn't imply such painful consequences. And regarding the contracts, you didn't mention the bank guarantee. In Prozorro Market, we use that, but I don't know if it is kind of legal, but that's very helpful. We are grateful to our lawyers, and 50% of our Prozorro Market procedures was eventually ended up in court. So some suppliers no longer contact us because we have these poorer supply terms that are not coordinated with the shelf life of the product, so we block those suppliers. So I wonder whether, regarding the deadlines, whether the shelf life of the products, whether there is a separate form or field where we can indicate that, because then even if you indicate that in the contract, that may result in litigations and disputes. I need to leave soon. Well, it's not about that we are piloting the system with medical products. We actually started with marketing, and for medicines since 2019, I started working with Uliana Suprun in the Ministry of Health, and I remember all of those protests, all the disputes with patient communities about that only original products need to be procured. And on the other hand, some said only generics. We've had that experience. And there are some substantiated situations, if we speak about transplantology, where a patient started taking certain medication by a certain producer to avoid rejection. They need to continue with the same therapy. If we speak about orphan diseases, they are all products are original. There are no generics, as we know, if these are complex diseases, because nobody can invest that much as was invested by top companies. But if we speak about paracetamol, ibuprofen, aspirin, well, I'm not sure. No one in the world can prove that the originator of ibuprofen and generic, that they have different effects. It's not about piloting that. The same medicines that you buy in open bidding, the same are offered in Prozorro Market, same producers, suppliers, registration. So nothing changed. It's just about a wider scope of competition, and the rules of the game are more transparent. I remember that one state or municipal enterprise in Kyiv that produces ambulance vehicles, they had problems with procurement on Prozorro Market, and they went to court, and the municipality lost the court hearing because there was terms of reference based on which we conduct the procurement, as well as international organizations, international foundations. So they came for us for expertise, and the municipality decided to amend that in a little bit different way so that only one supplier could fit that. And it's not about that you or the suppliers are bad, it's just about individual cases. And whether when the field of public procurement, when it was in the process of reform, whether there were these transformations. Yes, first international organizations delivered for to cover the need for several years in bulk at the same time. Then there were these negotiations about shelf life. So there were advisors who helped us develop this experience, and we are familiar with that, and we address that. And now there are no protests near the Ministry of Health with coffins or with turns. We have not had this negative reaction to the procurements in recent years. So if there are some ad hoc situations where certain medicines or products that you procure, you don't like it, let's have a wider perspective at that. If it was supposed to be registered, I know a patient organization that hates one Ukrainian producer, and they say everything that they produce is shit. And this is blood product, and maybe you know what I'm speaking about, but there are no proofs that their products are of low quality. They sent specimens to Europe and they confirmed proper quality, but they still don't like that. If that was not confirmed, the quality was confirmed, then that's a different situation. If we speak about OTP, and that's very difficult situation, and now the state tries to support this category of people. In 99% of cases, these patients will not like the medicines. So how to support this? When a OTP patient comes and says, I don't like the product that is produced in Ukraine, for example, then, okay, what then?
So can you give a specific example? Just how was it registered and how did it pass the clinical trial stage? What product are you talking about? So if you leave me the contact, I'll give you the list, which product basically we are talking about. So there are more than 2,000 of them. So basically they totally refuse to use these products. So how many times these healthcare professionals raised a complaint to the public pharmaceutical center? Have they filed a complaint? At least one. So there is no legislation that would regulate this. So we need to raise complaints, right? So if a medicine causes side effects, so first of all you have to basically raise a complaint with the pharmaceutical regulatory agency. So there are two types of medicines. So one of them is more efficient than the other. Okay, yes, but we just said that people are dying from the medicines that you are purchasing from the Prozorro Market. So that's so the people are in the reanimation, and there is a product that works better. It's not, you misunderstood this. So it's not like they get this medicine and they die. So one of the medicines works better than the other one. So there are more chances to resuscitate a person if we use that medicine instead of the other medicine. So that's the problem. So it's one molecule, same dosage and same. So there is the original and generic, right? So that's the problem I was telling about. So this is going to be the internal complaint between the physicians and the state. So the physicians will also say that only originals should be purchased, and the state says that only the generics should be purchased because the price can be different tenfold. This is like an internal conflict. So are there any because this is not a joke, and if the people are suffering and if the physician do not raise any complaints, that not file any complaints, because if someone is suffering, so you have to file complaints and just get it out of the market. It shouldn't be in the pharmacies. It should not be circulated in Ukraine. Okay, I'll file this. I'll talk this to the management, and we'll be formulating the complaints. And there were more questions too. Okay, so so the bank guarantee, I had this on the slides, but I didn't read it. So basically, the bank guarantee can be ensured in the agreement if you give the advance payment. And Decree 822 doesn't tell us that we don't have the right to use the bank guarantee to enforce the agreement or to ensure the request for proposal. It's not in the decree. So if someone is using that, then maybe you can complain against this, but it's not there directly in the system as a tool, but with the letter to the Center for the Central Procurement Organization. So there are complaints that the suppliers are abusing some things. So basically, the provision of the pre-advanced bank payment is a very efficient tool. If someone, for example, has some funding that can be spent, for example, it's often needed for the goods that are basically needed for the manufacturing, and if it's a considerable amount of money, then use the bank guarantee, and then basically see what kind of timeline for the guarantee you can use. When it comes to other quality parameters like the expiry term, shelf life, manufacturing date, guarantee date, so everything is in agreement. So it's not that you can do this, you have to have this in the agreement for the medication. So the expiry terms that the law tells us, and we just basically, if you see that if you have a delivery violating the expiry dates, so you just don't accept it because there is a provision in the agreement, direct provision, and you can impose sanctions. When it comes to the term of the guarantee, and again, the date of manufacturing of the product. So if you have some products that have different expiration terms, so if you purchase it for a long time, just make one procurement. So take this into account. So what is the manufacturing date should be, so that you don't have a product that was manufactured 2 years ago with the shelf life of 3 years, you're not going to accept it. But that's about the market analysis. So you have to learn what you're buying and then add this to the draft agreement. So when it comes to the documents, like what kind of additional documents can you add to the proposal? So it's not working now, and very often it is discriminating. If this is amended in some way, so this will be only added with the complaints mechanism. So this tool wouldn't be that much different from the bidding. So we wouldn't be winning time if we add, again, the possibility to complain against some document from the customer, because the participants of the procurement believe that in many cases these are discriminatory requirements. But what can a customer do? So you have to write down all the supplementary documents like the licenses, certificates, everything that needs to accompany the products. So if it doesn't come with the product, then you don't accept it. So this is a developed mechanism of influence here. Thank you. So that's from what I remembered. I think I replied everything. Can you hear me? Okay, I also wanted to make a small comment. So now we have a discussion tilting towards the direction that in the e-catalog we can't choose a specific manufacturer and then we're sold just whatever they have and anything, whatever, anything goes. But does the open bidding help make it possible for us to buy a specific manufacturer, a specific brand name? Yes, you could choose a little bit, but you know it all too well that when customers just change the technical characteristics, I'm not talking about the medications or healthcare, just, basically they change a little bit, but only there is a one supplier that can sell this, like for the price, which is 2, 3, 10 times higher, and then, there are criminal proceedings. So it's not just like that. We have National Anti-Corruption Program, which was adopted by the Cabinet of Ministers, and there is a provision that some goods are purchased on through the catalog. Other issues with the quality is there aren't. Everyone is working actively to solve this. But again, you are working with the public funding, with the taxpayers' money, and buying from everyone everything you want. I mean, no one can just claim that everyone has goodwill and everyone wants just to buy the quality products for the patients and not just to profit from this. So I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying in general, this, there is such a phenomenon as manipulation where the terms of reference are developed just for specific suppliers. And I'm saying that the e-catalog is not just formed out of the blue, and our experts is making sure that we have specific definitions, and there's a lot of effort done. Can you do this in one day? Of course not, but that's where we're moving to make sure that the government is proud of how the procurement is done, that we have a fair procurement, and that they don't build villas in the Kyiv suburbs. I'm sorry, we had to finish at 3. We have to move on to the MPUs. So the questions where it would be difficult to find a consensus, there will be more questions like that. And it's okay, because if everything was ideal in this world, we wouldn't have to do anything. We wouldn't have to meet and discuss and develop. So on my behalf, I'd like to thank you for honesty, for sincerity, for openness, for getting involved. I believe there will be more events like this, more platforms for communication, and we understand that there is a request from the hospital and that we receive a lot of requests, and we are working on this. So you can't improve everything in one day, but I promise there will be more possibilities to choose what needs to be chosen. And I believe that the cases, if any, when you have to buy something that you don't need, so they will be gone or they will be minimized. And if this is happening, so there's always a possibility to refuse from the agreement. Of course, we don't want to see, conflict situations that, nobody likes, but, sometimes it happens. And, maybe your request was different from what this was supplied or offered by the supplier. And we see that in large contracts, which is where the pressure is 20 times higher than you feel, because procurement is a difficult thing. But I believe that we'll cope, and there will be tools. The tools will be improving over the years, and over the past 2 years, the Ministry of Economy can hear the procurement officers, and the team that we have in the Ministry of Economy is listening to the procurement officers. And if changes are needed, well, they implement them, not as fast as you want them, but these changes take place. And the number of innovation that we have in the procurement, I don't recall that over the Ukraine's history, to see that many things being implemented at the same time. When we have a war, just like in the Ministry of Healthcare now, we have an unbelievable team that, those that we're working with, that basically is not interested in doing something less transparently or less efficiently. So what is offered by us is offered by other NGOs or patients associations. If it's transparent, if it helps, they are doing this, they accept this and do this. And there is an opportunity to change everything that needs to be changed, because after the victory, I don't know if, I'm not sure everything will be that flexible. So it will be a lot of complex bureaucracy. You don't know what kind of parliament will be, if the consensus will be there. So right now, as part of these dialogues, there is a possibility to listen to you, improve something, and send your requests, and then see this reflected in legislation changes. And let's talk more. And I believe that this communication will help us. Thank you once again for participation. Thank you. So we can take one more question from the audience, and we'll be finishing up. So please raise your hands if you have any questions. Yeah, there is a question. Bucha Consultation Center from Bucha Municipal Council. What about the force majeure? The supplier is the shipment is blocked on the Polish border. So what kind of documents they need to submit to me so that we can extend the term of the agreement? And if only just a letter would suffice, that the materials that they're waiting for are blocked at the border. I think it would be enough just to have a letter, but everything has to be written out, spelled out very clearly, and maybe this is not force majeure, but the legislation allows us, all of us, to extend the agreement, to extend the shipment time, if there are reasonable cases. So if you get a reasonable reply, then you can use your judgment and extend this agreement. And we faced the situation too when they didn't have time to ensure the timely shipment. Thank you very much for the question. And after the event, you will receive a feedback form where you can ask the questions that you may have later on, and we'll give you the answers to the emails that you did during the registration. Thank you once again, and I would like to give the floor to Dmitry Anastasia from the Central Procurement Organization. We'll be finishing up. So, dear colleagues, please welcome.
Трохи неочікувано було. Окей.
That was a bit unexpected. Anyway, what I wanted to say, actually, Adam said very concluded quite well, and the statements about the team of the Ministry of Economy, of the Ministry of Health, that's very true, that they are able to hear the customers and the citizens. That's true, because, for example, I have been working for 5 years in the field of public procurement, and based on my experience, I know that I could see those teams before the war and what we had happening since 2019, how hard it was to implement even good initiatives. There was resistance to that. And now a lot of customers speak about that, since there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of projects are launched where not everybody keeps the pace with, not always their value becomes obvious. But I believe life will prove which projects were successful, what's valuable for clients that will remain afloat. Because, of course, nobody will make the customers to use inconvenient instruments. And the Prozorro Market probably is based on the adequate foundation. Pre-qualification of suppliers, standardization of terms of reference. This is actually where the commercial procurement systems, they have already implemented that. And we should move towards that if we speak about low-cost procurements. That is why the issues that the customers are highlighting now, they are not dramatic. They can be addressed and corrected. Regarding interaction with suppliers, now the system is moving towards electronic contracting so that we could use e-fields, and that will also help us address the issues of the frequency of procurement and replacements and the situations where the supplier offered one thing and then they believe that they, at the last moment, that they should provide something else. The issue of quality, it is high on the agenda of the Ministry of Economy, and a lot of analytical work has been made, and now we gain feedback from the customers, from your colleagues, not only for medicines, but also in the fields of education, local governments that conduct procurements for needs of the army. In particular, now the bodyguards, they are actively using Prozorro system. All this feedback is heard, and we try to make use of that. We try to not only indicate like minus 20 or 30% of savings, but it's also about the quality, about no need to announce the tenders, the procurement again. So, of course, we need to balance between the customers and the suppliers, because then suppliers may say that somebody may abuse the system, and because we judge us as adequate people that we would use that the systems according to the rules. But there are situations where suppliers or customers, they try to use that for their benefit that may result in criminal proceedings. We need to avoid that, of course. So, as Adam mentioned, we need to keep up this dialogue, and among the positive initiatives that have already been implemented, we need to strike a balance. We need to make sure that we can procure on in a quality way and at the same time save funds. So it's not going to happen overnight, but I believe that where we are moving and the activities that colleagues from Medicini Zakupivli and international partners support that, and the Ministry of Economy initiates that, hopefully that will result in quality changes during procurement, during the procedures, and during execution of contracts. I also wanted to say that since food products, they mandatorily are procured in the e-catalog, and we are what we eat, I hope that all of you will buy healthy food. We will revise some provisions for medical procurements, and each year, hopefully, there will be fewer procurements for medications, and we will focus on healthy food instead of treating consequences of not doing that. Thank you for coming, and I believe that we will leave our contact information if you have questions about procurement of food products, for example, because I know that healthcare facilities are actively using that, so you can always contact us. Today, during coffee break, colleagues asked me about condensed milk and other food products, so we will address all of these questions, so let's keep in touch. Very briefly, on my side, I've been working in the field of procurement since 2012, and I know the practical aspect of that. And this revolutionary progress, the breakthrough that we've had in the recent years, this is absolutely unique. I believe that all authorized persons, procurers, would agree with me. I understand that everything new is about going beyond the comfort zone, because we already have some established processes that worked in some more or less adequate way. But when we step beyond the comfort zone, this is about development. Hopefully, we develop fast, and that improves the economy and our attitudes and our community, people who are here now. Oh, we didn't have that before. Now we are an important drive engine that moves this procurement initiatives forward, but I'm sure that all of us have very good intentions and we will succeed. Market, that's a cool, transparent instrument. And of course, as I said, there are no ideal tools. This is just another tool that us as commissioners, we also buy electricity and computer equipment, hardware, a lot of other stuff. But This tool is easy, good for standardized procurement. So I believe that everything that we will succeed due to this support, due to your feedback. As Dmitro mentioned, we will leave our contact information here. We specialize in digitalization, computer equipment, and software. If you have any questions, please call us and write to us. We are open to further communication, and thank you so much. Have a good day.
На цьому все, більш нічого не буде.
Thank you so much.